I want to start off this live talking about worrying about yourself first. Whoops, sorry. I got my last phone holder busted. I don't know what the name of these things are, but my last phone holder fell apart. So, just got a new one I'm trying to figure out. So, when you're in your own custody battle, you just have to worry about you first. You need to get yourself ready to go to war in your own case. Worry about you learning how to do this stuff yourself. If you decide to get an attorney, then learn everything that you need to know about what an attorney should do, about your rights, about the laws in your state and the factors for determining custody. Figure out what you need to do despite the bias in the court, despite the corruption in the court. You know, some people, as soon as they get on board, just like I did, they'll sign up for or be part of a father's rights group or whatever. And the father's rights groups will be talking stupid like, we're going to pass 50-50 laws and the system's going to change and we're going to make it better, and subscribe to our newsletter, or give Mark Ludwig money, or give Dad Talk Today money, or sign up for $250 an hour with loser Randy from Present Father, who got beat up throughout his whole divorce and let his kids get alienated and abused when he could have taken control and got on the offensive. I was just thinking how guys, they get on board, they see how corrupt the court system is, they get shocked, they get traumatized immediately. I tell you guys that when I was first on my case dealing with my baby's mom's first lawyer, and he was kind of a pushover. He had 17 years experience, so he still knew how to play games and play tricks and stuff like that. But he's still kind of a pushover compared to the next one, who was the most vicious attorney I've ever seen, in 25,000 cases in 25 years, helping people in Canada, Europe, Australia, and all 50 states in America. And so the guy who helped me and mentored me was Bob Carls from Dads America, or Dads Against Discrimination. They had a website, dadsamerica.org. It's defunct now because the losers who started it, they're old and they went cuckoo. One of them's waiting for the aliens to come pick us up. The other one is so hardcore. I tried to collaborate and work with him. And, I said, do you want to keep the chapter going in Washington? I used to volunteer with calls and stuff like that. And they were changing the website, so I need to talk to them to get access to that stuff to help people in Washington, because I was answering phone calls for them. And everybody else was fizzling out. And Bob Carls, kind of retired or got burnt out from it. And the guy in Oregon who's at the headquarters is like, well, what do you think about mothers? I think mothers and fathers should both have access to their kids. He's like, wrong answer. There should be a rebuttal presumption of custody to dads. Okay. I kind of agree with that, because we've tried the mother experiment. So now we should flip it and try the father experiment. But because of my answer, he's like, you're a sellout and all this other stuff. I'm like, you stupid idiot. I've been helping dads get custody for decades now. There's nobody in Washington doing it. You guys are defunct. What are you talking about? So he wouldn't let me have access to continue to help people through that avenue. So they fizzled out. They used to have about 13 or 14 chapters across the country. And there's one guy who ran the chapter in New Jersey who's still around doing his own thing. So there's only 2 of us left out of probably 100 guys nationwide that was part of that organization. I just volunteered to answer calls while Bob Carls ran stuff, and other people volunteered. And then eventually Bob got burnt out, and he said, why don't you just answer the calls? I'm done doing this stuff. I'm tired of it. And he was around since like 79. So he was burnt out about 23 years later. And because nothing had changed, and nothing has changed since then. The dads are still pussies. They still want to go in and play Mr. Nice Guy. They still follow the lead of their attorney. They don't follow their conscience. And see, when I'm talking about worry about you first, whatever your conscience says, whatever, whatever, you know, your attorney says, well, you're only going to get every other weekend. And you feel like you should have 50-50. Screw him. Demand that he fight for you. Did he become an attorney just to roll with the punches and follow the crowd? I mean, do you think in the civil rights movement people became attorneys just to let black people get screwed, or they wanted to fight for justice? That means that there's going to be some uphill battles, but these attorneys in family court are a bunch of pussies, and so they just want to make easy money. They don't want to work that hard. You know, they get a big fat retainer. They may fight for you at the first hearing, and it looks they're kind of fighting kind of hard, which is still 10% of the effort they should give. And then after that, then he wants you to get a guardian line, get this and that, and they'll communicate with you. Then they'll go to mediation. Maybe before that, though, you have pretrial hearings and set all that stuff up. And there's all this nickel and diming with formalities and letters and this and that. And they want you to trust the process. The process is a system that's your enemy. If the mother took you to court, or the wife was filing for divorce, she's your enemy. And you have a right to petition or respond or advocate for yourself your way in your case. There's no law or rule that says do whatever the court says, as far as, you know, when the court says, just trust the process, stop arguing right now, we're going to let the process take care of it, we're going to let a guardian line take care of it, we're going to trust these total strangers. No, that's not what happens in criminal court. You don't go in criminal court and say, the prosecutor is charging you with rape. We're going to put all their witnesses on the stand against you, and we don't want to hear from you. They wouldn't do that. And the criminal court system is way more fair than the family court system most of the time. There's plenty of corruption in it, but they want you to do stuff their way. They're the enemy. And think about it, if you're a defendant, let's say you're falsely accused of assault or rape, mistaken identity, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Those people are trying to take your freedom and throw you in jail. Remember, Michael Jackson's attorney once said the only thing standing in the way of tyranny in this country is defense attorneys. Because you got the prosecutor works for the state, the judge works for the state, the jury is hired by the state. They're all on the state's dime coming down against you. Why would you work with them and try and negotiate with them or let them dictate how you should defend yourself? It's insane how people just ride with and roll with whatever everybody else says. That's why I'm saying worry about you first. Worry about you, your case, your advocacy, and screw everybody else, including the father's rights groups, unless somebody's really actually helping you out one-on-one. Nobody's coming to rescue you. Nobody's coming to help you on your case. Nobody cares about your case. Even these father's rights groups and stuff like that. If they're helping other people, or they see case after case of people posting on their page, they can't possibly care about your case like you do, or like you need someone to. Your attorney doesn't even really care. They're just trying to make money. Now, if they're fighting the right way, you know, that's a noble thing. But these attorneys aren't fighting the right way. They're part of the system. They're rolling with the system, and they become judges, and that makes the system. And that's why it's insane to me how guys keep saying, I have to get an attorney. I had a guy one time, he went through 3 attorneys that screwed him over. And he called me because he's like, you know, you obviously know what you're talking about. And he had a trial coming up in a month, and he was venting about his attorneys. He was venting about how he was getting screwed. And I was telling him in the consult, you know, did your attorneys even tell you what the law in your state, I can't remember what state he was from, what the factors in the law in your state says? And I tell you guys, that's the first thing you should look up. He said no. And then we looked him up. He was like, none of my attorneys ever said this in the past year and a half. And by the end of the call, like most guys tell me, I learned more from you in this one call than all my attorneys the past couple of years. And part of that is laziness, because you could go out and just start searching for stuff yourself. Now, fortunately, the first time I came across Bob Carlos, he was doing a monthly meeting for Dads Against Discrimination. He started talking about case law, and there was a case in which it, reemphasizes your constitutional right. They can't interfere with custody and your constitutional right unless they have a narrowly drawn, compelling interest. That was custody of none in Washington, NUNN. They were taking kids away from a stripper prostitute woman or something like that. It was a dependency case, but they still reiterated parental rights. It was still applicable. And so right from the bat, the first time I heard from any father's rights guy, I talked to some father's rights attorneys, Goldberg and Jones, a bunch of sellouts, subhuman POSs, and another father's rights group. And I shopped around, and then I found Bob Carls of Dads Against Discrimination. I knew this is the guy I want to talk to. And at that meeting, there's about 20 of us, and 19 out of 20 of them were whining, crying, pissing, and moaning, and I was the only one that got a follow-up one-on-one with Bob Carls. And I was about the only one who got anything significant out of there. They just all came there to whine, cry, piss, and moan, and not do anything. And that's, that's about average. 1 out of 20 guys make a serious inquiry, and then after that, 1 out of 5 of them really do something about it. So my point is, you need to worry about you and learning everything and following your gut instinct and your baby's mom. I have guys who call me up and say, well, she's a good mom. I'm like, why do you say that? Well, she feeds the kids and all this other. She's a good mom because she keeps them alive? The hell? I already know where that's going usually when they say that. About 20 minutes into the conversation, she was suicidal. She slapped the kids around. She got a new boyfriend who's a drug addict or a thug or a knucklehead or has 2 felonies. And then she told you she hasn't let you see your kid in 3 weeks or 3 months or a couple of years, but you say she's a good mom. There's something wrong with you. You need to worry about you, your position, and rescuing your life with your kids. And that means shooting for the stars and hopefully you hit the moon. Most guys shoot for the clouds and they hit a tree branch. You have to worry about you, your cause, your case. Screw the guardian ad litem. Well, I got to worry about what the guardian ad litem thinks. F the guardian ad litem. I got to worry about what the judge thinks. F the judge. The judge is not the law. The judge interprets and applies the law. Do you worry about what the other side thinks in a football game if you tackle them really hard or you run really fast? That's how stupid it is for guys to say, well, I'm worried what everybody else thinks. When you go into, let's say you're playing football in an opposing arena, do you worry about what the fans think? No, you play your game and you play as hard as you can. And you go all out. Why does anybody care what anybody else thinks? Oh, because the judge and the guardian ad litem, they have you by the balls and they get to decide your case. The judge decides the case. The guardian ad litem may make recommendations. I've never seen somebody play Mr. Nice Guy and win because you're nice. If the guardian ad litem hates men and you're nice, then she'll railroad you because you're being a simp bitch. If the guardian ad litem hates men and you fight hard against her and hold her accountable and make her do her job, she may still plan on doing the same thing. But you and your attorney think, well, if I aggravate it, if I add to her prejudice toward me and I fight for myself, then that'll look bad. That's the dumbest, stupidest shit in the world. Because the laws usually say a guardian ad litem has these different requirements, including not being biased. If they're being biased, they're committing misconduct. And if nobody ever tells on them and nobody ever argues about them being biased or they should be dismissed or the court shouldn't rely on them, all my guardian ad litems, I had 2 different guardian ad litems. The first one we had 3 hearings. The second one we had 2 hearings. And the judge disregarded everything. The first guardian ad litem recommended that the mother not be found in contempt. I got the mother found in contempt. You can look at my winning court order. It has a signature of me, my baby's mom's attorney, and the guardian ad litem. I was outnumbered 3-1, and I still won. Because I didn't pussyfoot around and worry about what the guardian ad litem thought. I had her on her heels. This is why it's insane to me that, one of my problems with social media is that I get banned over and over. Because of how harshly I talk, I guess. Some people report, oh, he's giving legal advice. And then I got haters out there probably reporting me or tagging me or whatever with a negative report. And so, I started blowing up on TikTok, like 13,000 followers in like a couple months, which it exploded after I did one video. And then now I get a TikTok and I have a couple thousand people follow me, and then for some reason they ban me. I have to start a new one. I've had to do that on Instagram. And then, YouTube is kind of slowed down drastically. When I first came out, I had a nice video where I'm talking about the best interest of the child and the arguments. And I have a couple nice videos at the beginning, and everybody loves that. But nobody's doing shit about it. Only a couple people are calling me. Then I talk harshly, and guys are whining and crying. You're too harsh. You're telling us to grow some balls. That hurts my rectum really bad. Please don't do that. And then they're still only the same amount. So it doesn't matter whether I'm nice, aggressive, tell the truth, or if I sugarcoat it, which I've never really done. I just, I have some videos where my most popular video is the first best interest of the child video, and there's 100,000 views on there. But now I average like 50 to 300 views. I don't know if I got shadow banned or enough people complained. There's a lawyer on there who stalks me from Chicago because I called him out and made him look stupid. But it's insane to me that this material doesn't go viral. And I've had people comment, how come you're not going viral? How come you don't have 1 million followers? Well, here's a great example. I did an interview with Pearl from Pearly Things, and she's got 2 million followers. And that video, despite her millions of followers, had like 13,000 views. It was put on a playlist about, I don't know if it was self-help or something like that. She had other videos that talk about how to deal with stuff like this. But Pearl's videos, they go viral when she's making fun of booty clapping hoes and making them look stupid. It's entertainment. I did a video a little bit ago and say the father's rights movement is just entertainment. Everybody whines and cries about how bad everything is. And then they want to see a bunch of whining, crying stories, and then they want to see Pearl school somebody on stage, and then they see Johnny Depp's trial, and they're like, yeah, there's a father's right. You know who's probably the biggest bitch out there is the Dad Talk Today guy, Eric Carroll. After Johnny Depp's trial, Amber Heard, falsely accused him of rape or whatever, domestic violence. I didn't even watch that stuff. I don't got time to watch that stuff. But all these other guys are getting sexually aroused because, like, oh my God, a guy Johnny Depp is exposing how corrupt women are. And Johnny Depp's crazy himself. I think he's in the Epstein files and stuff like that, but he's a weirdo. But everybody got all excited and this happens, like a documentary comes out or an article comes out or something comes out, and dads get all excited that, oh, this is going to save us now. No, you bitch. You won't get off your ass. 1 million other dads won't get off their ass and do what they need to do. So nothing's going to change. And people got entertained by Johnny Depp's trial. This is why I say worry about you. If you're going through a custody battle and there's Johnny Depp's trial and you're hoping because of Johnny Depp's trial your judge is going to be more fair, the people on your case don't give a shit. The way dads win, and the best chance a guy has to win, is the war of attrition. You going to war and wearing the other side down. Whether you win everything or not. I didn't win everything. I wore my baby's mom down. I stumbled. Nobody told me, James, do the war of attrition. Every time I lost, or I didn't get what I want, I went out and looked for another answer. I lost it from a family law commissioner. I learned how to appeal to a judge within 10 days, called motion for revision in Washington. I didn't even know about reconsideration. I could have done better with a reconsideration. But I went from family law commissioner, pro tem commissioner, Deborah Bianco in Bellevue, Washington. Went up to a judge. She didn't even know what my constitutional right was, but she gave me 5 days a week, 4 hours a day when my daughter was only a few months old. And then 8 hours on Saturday. My baby's mom worked 4/10, so she had her on Friday, but Monday through Thursday and Saturday. And it turns out that was probably for the better. Instead of me getting every other weekend and overnights, consistently seeing my daughter 5 days a week, every single week, was probably the best thing, especially for the transition. I got custody of her when she was 7 months old. Suddenly she's dealing with abandonment from her mom. And that made the transition easier. But nothing came of the Johnny Depp trial. But Eric Carroll from Dad Talk Today had a post saying, Johnny Depp, where are you, man? We're waiting for you to stand up for father's rights. Eric Carroll, you faggoty little bitch. Why do you need somebody else to save you? Now, Eric Carroll's only been around since 2019. I got 19 years experience over him on this stuff. And he's still a rookie in this stuff, thinking that, I mean, maybe he's done thinking that anything will change, because I reached out to him and said, hey man, if all you do is post loser stories, guys are going to lose hope. Why don't you have some winners on there? And he blocked me. Somebody just asked me the other day, how do you know that all these guys are corrupt? How do you know when the Father's Rights group is corrupt? You don't even work with them or reach out to them. I have reached out to them and they shut me down. Or I go on the Facebook pages for the Father's Rights movement and I tell guys to do contempt. They're like, no, I can't. It doesn't work. And I'm like, try again. Don't be a pussy. And then I get booted out of the group because I have the answers and they don't want to hear it. They just want to be whining, crying pussies. The guys running the Father's Rights groups in different chapters in different states are a bunch of pussies who lost in court. Then they post questions from other guys who lost in court. And then the other guys who are in the audience watching the questions give loser answers. Like the example I give in Idaho all the time. A Father's Rights group guy said, my baby's mom's boyfriend is molesting my daughter. I don't want to send her back over there. I want to keep her. This guy said, you'll go to jail. You can't do that. And I said, oh yeah, under what law, buddy? Took him 20 minutes to get the answer. So the dad is asking the question. Here comes some guy from over here out of the blue saying, you'll get in trouble. You'll go to jail. Took him 20 minutes to get the answer. He shows me the law. I read the whole law, which is only 5 sentences. It says you will get in trouble if you withhold a child. You can be thrown in jail and all that stuff in violation of a parenting plan. Under this circumstance, but under this circumstance, if you're doing it to protect the safety and well-being of the child, this doesn't apply to you. So that mother effer didn't even read the whole law, and he's deterring a guy and trying to encourage him to send his kid back to get molested because of some law that he didn't even read, and the law was on the dad's side. Those are the type of numbnuts morons that are running the Father's Rights movement pages. And I complained about them one time, and the guy in the headquarters in Ohio, whatever bitch that dude is. So I've actually reached out to them even more. The bitch in Ohio that runs either the Midwest region or all of the United States. I was talking about how corrupt they are. I'm like, why are you bashing us? Why don't we join forces together? I said, well, you guys post stuff like, hey, send your kid back to get molested. He goes, we can't be responsible for one person on one chapter, whatever. I said, bullshit, bitch. You are on a platform that people think because of the title is very influential and they'll listen to what's said there. And you can't just go out there and unregulate and have people give unsolicited legal advice, especially if they lost in court and they're endangering children. That irks me to no end. This is why people don't like me, because I'll get up here and call somebody. The Father's Rights movement of Idaho is telling dads to hand their kids over to child molesters. Every single person in America should be effing enraged about that. And then I express my rage about that, and then pussy ass bitches like the guy who runs in Ohio is saying, oh, calm down, dude. What are you so mad? I'm mad that a child might have got molested. Hopefully the dad listened to what I had to say. I can't remember what came of it or what. That was several years ago. Who doesn't get mad at that? But see, nobody thinks, everybody's like, ooh, Father's Rights Movement. That title means something. Just like when you guys go to an attorney. The law firm of Joe Schmo in downtown Detroit in a high-rise building. They must be great because that picture image of them is so professional. You know who makes themselves look professional? Mafia, crooks, con artists, hustlers. All that Somali fraud. They had a face front on some buildings like this is this daycare facility. This is a corporate thing. And then nobody really looked into it because everybody just believes the surface stuff. I go deeper than the surface bullshit. This is where mother effers don't want to think. And we are losing our kids because we don't want to think harder. We don't want to fight harder. We don't want to work harder. We don't want to put more time in. We don't want to listen to somebody like James who won. We want to listen to some pussy ass faggot bitch out here saying, oh, don't go to court and attack the mother. That'll look bad. Where in the law does it say if you make the mother look bad, you lose? Every single law across America says the best interest of the child. The child. So if I make the mother look bad in court or I attack the mother in court and it's still the best interest of the child to be with me, that's what the court has to do. But some of you guys are so effing stupid, you say, oh my God, I can't, and you're emotional, you're in your feelings. That's a feminine attribute. That's why I talk about men are so feminine, it's ridiculous. You need to use logic. And so you can go to court and say, the guardian ad litem is saying, because of my litigation tactics, I shouldn't have custody. Your Honor, my litigation in here, the baby isn't watching us. I never talked to the mother outside of court. This is the court arena where we have adversarial competition and we have oral argument and we attack somebody's credibility. We have all these aggressive words, and she's lied about me. She called me a monster, this and that. And you didn't believe her, so she's lying. And I don't like somebody lying about me. If I came up here and said, you're a judge who lets pedophiles off the hook, and I lied, you would be upset about that. So they're over here lying, but nobody's upset about that. But if I call it out, then suddenly the guardian ad litem, oh my God, the father committed blasphemy against the mother and called her something, a liar. I have a right to advocate for myself. The best interest of the child, according to all the stats, all the data, all the science, the mother's an alienator. That means she's committing trauma, inflicting trauma upon the child that's worse, that's just as bad as physical and sexual abuse. You would never let a pedophile or a child abuser have custody. You would yank the kids out immediately. Well, she's inflicting the same harm on the kids, so give them to me. That's the best interest of the child. And this is about the child. Let's focus on the child. Yeah, we have some ugly litigation here. She's lied about me. I told some ugly truths about her. That has nothing to do with what's best for the child. Who's the better parent? Where in the law does it say, if your litigation tactics are like this, then you lose custody? No, it says the best interest of the child. Which parent is performing parenting duties? Which parent is willing to facilitate a relationship with the other parent? She flunks that. Which parent is willing to put the child's need first? She flunks that. She's all about me, me, me. I have a new boyfriend. I need to move 100 miles away with my internet boyfriend. That's more important than the child and the child's need of another parent. I can't be unselfish and put the child first. A life of a parent is a sacrificial life. You don't get to go and do whatever you want when you have kids. And if she had kids with me and brought the kids into the world, we need to sacrifice our life a little bit and focus on the kids. And if she's not a person who could do that, then fine, let her go to her boyfriend, but give me custody. That's what's best for a child. That's according to the law. So you take the law and you break down the law in a court of law when you're arguing your lawful rights, especially if you have an attorney at law. But everybody's like, oh, worry about the guardian ad litem, what the judge thinks and all this other stuff. That's nowhere in the law. Nowhere. That's why mother effers have to read the law. And 99% of you, when you finally get a hold of me, I'll ask, have you ever looked at the law? Has your attorney told you what the law says? You have no idea. You never even looked, even though I emphasize it all the time. See, what happens is you get dropped in a family court and there's all this chaos and stuff, and you won't sit and just be quiet and remove the chaos and look at, here's what the law says, here's what the ideal, I just did a video on what is actually the best interest of the child. It's an intact home with a married family with a father and a loving mother who look out for the kids and love the kids. If you have a broken family, you can't possibly do what's best for the kid. You have to get as close as possible to that, which is 50-50. Courts will say, oh, 50-50 every other weekend for the dad, that's the best interest of the children. No, it's not. It's being married and living together and having a loving, loyal, committed family that the kids see love between the parents and the love comes down on the kids also. That's the best. Everything is second best. So if you have to do the best interest of the child, you have to get as close to that as possible. But everybody's like, you let them take you out to these crazy waters way out in the deep of the ocean, and then you start arguing on their terms over here. You need to bring them back to reality. This is what's best. We're departing from this. This is what the science says. Don't you believe in science? We shut down the whole world because of COVID. Why? And we made everybody's life inconvenient because of COVID. Why? Because we had to believe the science, look out for our fellow man. How can we not believe in the science about kids? The science is 100% unequivocal, undebatable, that the more you push the dad out, the more you endanger the child. And if it's about the best interest of the child, why are you not looking out for what's best for the child? This every other weekend schedule is automatically dangerous to a child. If that's dangerous, which it is, according to all the science, then if you're keeping me away, there better be a greater danger of me. Oh, well, she accuses you of abuse. You have not made a finding of fact that that's not true. That's an accusation. Well, it's a serious accusation. Okay, so it's murder. But in the end, if somebody's found not guilty, they didn't do it. You can't say definitively, you need to take away my rights and sentence me to no time with the kids and harm the kids. It's undebatable that when you take the father away from the kids, it's not a debate. It's a scientific fact. You take the kids away, they're in danger right now. And see, everybody should be telling, this should be your opening argument or your baseline argument. The current order that takes me away from the kids, it's really full-time. Because when a dad's not in the home full-time, this happens. If you got 50-50 and see stupid-ass, mother effing, pussy-ass bitch dads say, well, I want the mother to have 50-50. Yeah, she alienates the kids. Yeah, she doesn't. So you want, but the kids need both parents. That's what Randy from Present Father said. His lawyer said at the very beginning, go for supervised visitation. Randy said, no, I want the kids to have a mom, so 50-50. He's a pussy-ass simp bitch, or he's still in love with her, that fat-ass faggot, Grizzly Adams wannabe bitch. And then he complained that the kids were being alienated all throughout the case, but he served the kids up to get abused, like letting them stay the night at the neighbor's house, and the dad over there is a child molester. That's how Randy is. That's what Randy would do. Well, I want the kids to have fun with their friends, even though there's a child molester there. Well, I want the kids to have a mom, even though she alienates and abuses them. And then he whined and cried and pissed like a bitch. And then now he's got 1 million followers, and they're all paying him $250 an hour for some bullshit legal advice. You see how stupid this is? And people wonder why I'm upset or so passionate about this stuff and calling people out. You guys all know the lawyers are full of shit. You all know the judges are corrupt. The judges used to be family law attorneys, most of them. You know the guardian lions are corrupt. And then we have a father's rights advocate like Randy from Present Father, and he's following the same MO, and he's promoting a book from a lawyer who's corrupt. And he's getting a commission off of it. He's a sellout house slave little bitch. And you guys still follow this shit. And it's obvious in front of you that everybody is full of shit, except for me and a few other people. Everybody. And you guys still follow that because paying somebody or scrounging up some money or getting a loan from your parents or friends or something, or taking out your retirement or whatever, it's just easier to dump it on somebody else because out of sight, out of mind, because you got a pussy mentality. I know it's hard. I know it sucks. I didn't want to go out and check my mail the first 3 months of my custody battle because every time I did, I opened up a letter from the opposing attorneys talking about how horrible I am as a parent. Now I got way more thick skin than that, and I didn't have a how I got custody website or flow page to go to get all this free information and get shortcuts. If what I know now, I knew back then in 2001, my 7-month custody battle would have lasted probably 2.5 months. I was learning all this stuff on my own. And I got people who call me up. They want to just bullshit with me for free. Or after I get a consult, they call me up and think I'm their best friend and they can just call and ramble on. I'm like, did you make a payment? Oh, no, I didn't know I had to make a payment. Like, there's so much effing dysfunction out here. Like, most attorneys wouldn't even deal with some of the people I deal with. I'm willing to help people. I'm the cheapest one out there. I know more than everybody else out there. And still dumbasses follow the idiots out there. It's insane. I've helped, you can't find an attorney that's helped 10 dads get full custody in their whole time. The ones, and even the ones that helped get custody, the mom wanted to give him custody anyway. They didn't fight to earn that most of the time. I stopped counting at 300 several years ago, the number of dads that I helped get full custody, and most of them without an attorney. That should be going viral by itself. But people don't like the tone of what I say because they want it to be plush and cush and easy. And this is the human nature with anything. Nobody has ever participated in change except for a very few. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers. Only a few of people stick their necks out there and do stuff, and then they get killed for it. During the Revolutionary War in America, only 7% of people took up arms, and I guess that's a high estimate. We thought like the whole country fought. No, it's only like 7% of people. David Goggins once said, in a war, 90% of the guys out there shouldn't even be there. They're just targets. Or he said at least 10% shouldn't even be there. They're just targets. 80% aren't really fighters. And then he said 10% are the ones doing all the dirty work, and then 1% are real warriors. And he's like, I'm trying to be a real warrior. If you never heard of David Goggins, you should watch some of his inspirational videos. That dude is one heck of a no excuses testimony, you know. And see, that's the other thing. People are so traumatized by family court, they want to have been treated fairly, and since they weren't, they don't want to go back and learn how to fight and overcome the unfairness and the bias and the prejudice. They want the system to change and bow down to them. That's a diva, feminine bitch mentality. A real warrior or a man says, I'm going to war despite the bias, despite the prejudice. I have to fight for my kid because I brought this kid into the world. I was a dumbass mother effer for having a kid with this crazy bitch. My kids are suffering. I need to go rescue them. You are the hero. You are the Superman. You are the one who rescues and protects. That, you know, we have all these videos about the man's a protector, the man's a provider. So women need to submit and women need to respect the man. But when it comes time, guys will act tough or they'll want to fight somebody. Before, during, and after you fight somebody, even if you knock them out, you're still a pussy at heart if you're not gonna rescue your kid. I get all kinds of dads who threaten me on here. I might not even be talking about anybody specific. I'm like, dads need to stop being pussies and grow some balls. And then a guy will say, I wasn't a pussy. I fought for 3 years and I got royally screwed, you mother effer. You wouldn't say that to my face. I'll come see you and all this other stuff. You're a dysfunctional piece of shit because that's your answer when you come across somebody who won in court. Most guys who are humble and want to learn, and most guys who end up being winners or successful or CEOs or an athlete like Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant would listen to everything anybody says and soaks them up. He would steal moves from other people, especially Michael Jordan. He was a clone of Michael Jordan. He would listen to everything Michael said. He said, you know, there wouldn't be a Kobe Bryant if there wasn't a Michael Jordan. He gives credit to where it's due. And he soaked up that stuff. And he said, you know, there are no failures. There's learning experiences that you grow from. So when you go to court, you get blindsided. Yes, it's traumatic. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's hell. But you're the dumb mother effer who dropped your seed into that crazy bitch because you were desperate. You were lonely. You didn't vet the woman. You didn't court with her to figure out who she really was. I'm the same way. I had a kid out of wedlock with a crazy bitch. And I was a dumbass for it because I felt God spoke to me and said, don't go messing with her. I felt like that still small voice deep within my spirit said, don't go do that. And I did it anyway. And I had hell to pay for it. But my daughter didn't deserve to not have a father. So I went to go rescue her. I was on a rescue mission. And I'll be damned if somebody was going to get in my way. And see, when you have somebody who lived it, like I talked about David Goggins earlier, that was my point. I've lived this stuff. I've been exactly where you guys are. I went through it. I've been traumatized. I've been lied about. I've been slandered. Even after I got custody, the mother and her attorney went to court over and over and over again and said I was dangerous to women and children after I got custody. And she never tried to get custody away. So you know she was lying, but she was allowed to psychologically torment me with that stuff. And then I was in and out of court for 19 years. And some of you pussies are like, this last 2 years have been so traumatizing. If you haven't been there for 19 years, you haven't opposed an attorney who's a literal sociopath, who my baby's mom's opposing attorney would lose cases on purpose so his women clients would lose and go broke and be desperate. And he'd say, oh, you poor thing, you can come live with me. And then he'd say, don't worry about your bill, you can work it off. He did that to 20 different women. He had a modern day free slave labor operation going on in his home office in his house. And I exposed it to the bar, and the bar didn't do anything about it. And I had several women call me. I had a couple women call me. I called a couple other victims that I found out about, and they were sharing how they're crying on the phone about what they went through. That's the opposing attorney I dealt with. I've dealt with everything, and I was thrown in jail because they had a hearing that they didn't tell me about, and a bench warrant was issued, and I was in jail for 8 days. It traumatized my daughter. So I've seen it all. The only thing that hasn't happened to me is being falsely accused of rape or molestation. Okay? And it's still the genre of being an abuser. So I've been through everything you guys have been through. Let me get to some questions here. And so I destroy all excuses and pussy ass faggot bitch dads that don't want to fight with all they have, because if your kid is being taken from you, name one mother effing thing that you have to do that's more important than learn everything you can to go rescue your kid. Name one thing that you have to go do besides studying the law, preparing for a court hearing, getting a consult with James, getting some of James's $45 packets that are really worth $1,000. It costs at least $1,000 for an attorney to do what's in my packet, in my packets. Or watching all of James's videos, learning how to get on the offensive, not quitting after you lose, doing a reconsideration. After you lose a reconsideration in front of a magistrate, a commissioner, a friend of the court, appealing to a judge, doing discovery, doing a deposition, getting on the offensive. All this stuff, which is the war of attrition. Have you engaged in that yet? Nope. Then why don't you try? Why don't you try everything? See, I had my mind made up. I will fight for my daughter until she's 18 if I don't get what I want. I will be in court for 18 years. And it turned out that mentality got me to a place where I wore the mother down till she surrendered at 7 months. 95% of court cases settle out of court. Whoever's getting their ass handed to them will surrender the most. And it's usually the dads, and they punk out because they're playing Mr. Nice Guy. You got railroaded early on in your case. Now you're behind the 8 ball. You go to mediation, and the mother won't settle with you with something fair. And your attorney says, well, I'm not going to trial because I faked you out. I'm a pussy-ass bitch, too. I'm not going to trial. And I'm going to quit on your case unless you settle. And you settle like a bitch instead of... The guy I mentioned earlier, he got screwed by 3 attorneys. I said, well, now you're ready to go and represent yourself? He goes, no, I need an attorney for trial. And I said, no, you don't. I've had guys who've done trials for 2, 3, 4 days. He goes, no, I have to get this right. I really need an attorney to go to trial. This is the important part. I said, you dumbass mother effing piece of shit. You just told me 3 attorneys royally screwed you over. Now you want to go with another one? You just saw proof firsthand that these attorneys they ain't shit. And you want another one? That's like working with the mafia 2 or 3 times and they tried to kill you 2 or 3 times. Like, I really need to get my business going, so I really need to consult with the mafia instead of doing some above board lawful entrepreneurship or something, or having a mentor who succeeded legally. And I never heard from that guy again. I mean, I didn't call him that, but he's a pussy ass bitch for wanting to trust an attorney, trust his life with his kids with an attorney after being shown 3 attorneys in a row that they're a bunch of sellouts. He was just a scared pussy who doesn't want to learn how to fight because it's too intimidating. Most of you guys know. Think about this. And I'll get to your questions. You can ask a question. I'll get to it in a second. Think about when you're in court and you're watching your attorney talk. I know most of you have had a court hearing where your attorney was talking and forgot something, fumbled and bumbled at their words, didn't really say what you guys had planned on saying, or sold you out, or weren't ready for the other side's argument. Every single one of you at some point thought, or if you think right now, man, I could have said that better than them. I could have said that better than my own attorney. Why is that? Because you know your life. Or some of your attorneys are caught off guard, like, what are they, you argue and they argue and you're like, what are they talking about? I don't remember that. And then you have to whisper in the attorney's ear. You don't have to do that when you're representing yourself. That's what I talked about on the video. I talked about rebuttals. I won some court hearings because I did a motion, they responded, and then I had like a minute or 2 for rebuttal, and I trapped them because I knew off the top of my head without having, the other attorney had to memorize our case. I thought of stuff that he didn't even think of because I got my life already memorized. I know my life. And I destroyed them because of that. There's so many reasons to represent yourself on top of these attorneys are a bunch of hustler cons. But see, nobody's doing anything about it. You don't see any mass-wide protests against attorneys or judges out in the streets or in their neighborhood, exposing them. We're not disturbing their bubble. We're not even touching them. And these father's rights gay boys like Mark Ludwig, who goes to seminars. Look at Mark Ludwig. Google Mark Ludwig, Michael Jackson on Facebook. He's at a seminar and he's dancing. He's pretending he knows how to dance and has some rhythm. He looks like the dork on the Hangover movies with the Mike Tyson tattoo around his eyes. He looks just like that dork, and he's just as dorky. And he's up there thinking that he's some hotshot because he knows a couple of moves of Michael Jackson's partially, and he's butchering the moves, and he thinks he's cool because he's among a bunch of other corny, nerdy dorks, and he's getting off on the attention and making who knows how much off of his $9 a month newsletter with 100,000 followers, maybe 10,000 of them He's making $100,000 a month off of it. Nobody sits and thinks, what are we really doing here? What am I really supporting? Where am I really going with this father's rights group I'm a part of? What did Mark Ludwig or Tough Dad, those guys love to jerk each other off. Ryan the Tough Dad, they balance each other out. They got some kind of deal where they're bouncing stuff off each other and they're worshiping each other. And what have they accomplished? Mark Ludwig went without his kid for like a year and a half. So he was a loser. Then he finally got his kid. I don't know if he got 50-50 or every other weekend. Ryan the Tough Dad, after 7 years and $18,000 or $25,000, I saw a video where he said he finally got 50-50. I got full custody in 7 months. And Ryan the Tough Dad has a few 100,000 followers or something like that on Facebook. He gets up there and dances and shakes his butt to some songs because everybody loves a meme or a little jingle or a little manipulative thing that gets you, oh, this guy, he's complaining about the system and he's dancing and there's a song that reminds me of him later on. Or President Father Randy, the Grizzly Adams dude with the big beard who's always walking around in the forest. He has a big Wolfman Jack radio voice and people remember that. But then he talks to you like you're retarded. He'll say, mothers take kids away from, the father. Or mothers will make kids feel bad. Don't laugh at dad's jokes. Don't smile when I mention dad. Don't do this. It's really, really sickening. And he experienced that. He experienced that alienation and watched his kids get alienated. But that bitch-ass faggot sellout house slave served his kids up to the mother and said, here, have 50-50. If you think the mom's a monster, why would you want her to have 50% of the time? And they're out there automatically all these groups are out there thinking 50-50 is the best for kids. No, it's not. Because if you have an alienator or an abuser or a neglectful parent, you're letting your kids get abused 50% of the time. If all the statistics show that kids do better, have better self-esteem, better intelligence, better neurological, physiological, brain and cognitive functioning, better identity, less likely to be suicidal, more likely to succeed in life. When a dad is involved, there's no statistics like that for mothers. The mother is the helpmate. She's the second-hand person. Now, there's cases where dads are narcissistic bitches, and I'm helping out some mothers right now, and I rescued a couple of mothers from those situations. And those mothers listen to me way more. And one of them did her own trial and destroyed an attorney and the father in a 2-day trial. Because she worked hard at it, and she got a hold of me at the last minute, like the week before trial, and she busted her ass getting ready for it. And now she's a 50-50 mom when she didn't see her kids for 2 years at all. And she was a former drug addict, and they used that against her. I'm hoping when she gets settled in to her 50-50, and then she doesn't have to worry about anything, she'll do an interview with me so you guys can see that stuff. Most people, they don't want to go public with their case or get an interview afterward. Most people that go in public are complaining about the system. They got nothing to lose, and then they're not spending time fighting in their case, so they'd rather just get online and talk shit. They're too scared to call the, I show you guys, I have a video on YouTube where I show you guys how I protest courts. I put the judge's address on there. That was before doxing laws, so I wouldn't recommend that. I've been in my judge's neighborhood, which there's nothing illegal about that, as long as you don't threaten a judge or make them feel like you're endangering them. The news media goes to a judge's house the next day after a bad ruling. You ever notice that? If you see a judge who let a criminal out and then he went and raped again or did this again, the news media is standing at the end of the driveway of a judge. And they'll say, Your Honor, blah, blah, blah. Why did you do it? Why did you let him out? And they get in the car and they don't say a word. And then it blows over in a couple of weeks and nobody cares anymore because the judges know, let's just stay in my bubble and all that stuff. I go to the courthouse and I put the judge's name, the case number, and this judge gave custody to a mom who's blind and got the child burned. The judge gave custody to a mom who has a sex offender boyfriend. The only people who don't like me are other lawyers. And then I tell them, let's go look at the file. I got the case number right here, bitch. And they walk off like a bitch. Anyway, I think on all these other fathers' rights groups are the George St. Pierre of MMA fighting. And, oh God. And I'm the Nate or Nick Diaz of MMA fighting. Like, I'm not playing around. I'm not doing the fake stuff. I'm not doing the shucking and jiving show to make everybody feel good. Oh, we're going to change the system. We're going to have seminars outside. You know how people talk about, like, like churches, they're supposed to be out serving the community, helping the widows, helping the poor. And there's plenty of churches do that. So they get a bad rap. But because of the mega churches and the lifestyle and all that stuff that comes with it, people are like, why aren't the churches, like Tupac used to say that, and why aren't the churches open like when people can't find a home, or when Joel Osteen took some heat when his doors were closed in Houston floods and stuff like that. And I'm not quick to jump on these people because I don't know them enough personally, and people are flawed, and I'm not quick to jump on who's wrong. But that's a great example of they're not out there changing their communities. Or, I used to go to a church where the headquarters down in LA, they reach out to gangbangers and stuff like that. And a lot of the other churches on the corners didn't reach out to them, and drug infested communities and stuff. And they're trying to make a positive change. And so the fathers' rights movement, they're having all these seminars and they have all these posts, and, Randy, the President Father guy, he's got 1 million followers all over social media. All he does is just rant and rave. Who's his audience? Are judges watching and saying, oh my God, we're making these kids get alienated? No, the judges are sitting in their bubble, just like I gave the example. Even when the news media puts a mic in their face, they just stay silent, keep it moving, and move along. I go to where their bubble is and I poke it. I've actually have judges change their ruling because I was so involved in local stuff. Now I'm doing more nationally and stuff, but I was so involved locally with cases. And some guys would go to court and they would say, who did your paperwork, or who helped you with this? Who prepared you for this hearing? Oh, a guy named James Christian. He's not a lawyer. You need to go to the facilitator. So I started getting a rep when they knew my name. I wanted to complain to the facilitator's office one time and said, what do we do when you guys practice law? Oh, we don't practice law. I said, let me talk to your manager. And they're like, what's your name? And I said, James. They would go to the back, and the manager comes down and says, Mr. Christensen, how can I help you? I didn't give him my last name. I said, what are we supposed to do when we come across cases where you guys are giving legal advice? Where's the recourse in this building? Because I know the King County Courthouse, they had to clean house one time because all the clerks and everybody were giving legal advice, and they're giving bad legal advice. What are we going to do? And she didn't have anything. Well, I guess you could just write us or whatever. They didn't have a complaint process. So anyway, I go to the belly of the beast. But I've gotten feedback from other people after I protested. They went like, Judge Maureen McKee. I said this is an evil psychotic witch who hates fathers. And then on the other side of the sign, I said she gives custody to child abusers. Next thing you know, there's dads getting 50-50 left and right in front of her court. Even dads who had an incident of violence or abuse, she still let it slide and said, go get some help, and the kids need both of you. Yet, I'm hated by fathers' rights movement lying hustler bitches. The Texas Penal Code 2503 guy, I don't know what his name is. Looks like a Hispanic dude with a beard, dark hair. First thing out of his mouth on the first video I saw, Texas Penal Code 2503. That says that, you can go to jail for custodial interference or whatever. He's on there whining, crying, bitching, and moaning. He says, hey, if you're pro se, which means representing yourself, you might as well give up because you'll lose. The judges hate you and hate when you represent yourself. And I said, that's bullshit. I got full custody without an attorney. I've helped hundreds of dads do that, and thousands more do better and get 50-50, get off supervised visitation, fight off restraining orders. And he's like, you mother effer, blah, 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 blah. And then he followed me around, and he see me post, and he talked shit about me, and then I tagged him and talked shit about him. I have a track record showing I won. He said that guys can't win. He's a liar. And then when I confronted him, you know what he should have said? He should have said, wow, I didn't know anybody could win pro se. That's amazing. How did you do it? These guys are such effed up in the head, traumatized. It's like they had trauma, and somebody come back from Vietnam and they hear a car tailpipe blowing up. Oh my God, backfiring. I lost the word. a car backfire and they think it's a gun, and they have nightmares and stuff, or they hear a backfire of a car, they drop on the ground out of autonomic functioning because of their trauma from the war. These mother effers, they got trauma from family court. So here comes somebody with some answers. They don't want to hear it because they're so traumatized. I just saw a guy, I should post this video. He said, people talk about the negativity in their life. My life sucks. Nothing ever goes right. I'm always broken. He said, they fall in love with their suffering. It's more comfortable to sit in your suffering and whine, cry, piss, and moan about what you're suffering and why you're losing than it is to get up and get off your ass and do something about it. And I know 90% of the people who watch this video aren't going to do anything about it, but 10% might. And I'm here for the 1% that are willing to be warriors and go and fight. I just talked to a dad in Georgia who's got full custody of his kid. He went through hell the first year of his custody battle, but now his kid lives with him. It was worth it. Just think about how stupid you're being. You are suffering and losing and paying out money to an attorney and all this other stuff. You could lose for free by yourself. And then people like me, and there's thousands outside of me, there's people out who never even had a consult with me. They just watched all my videos. Maybe they got some packets and didn't get a consult. Maybe they got a consult, no packets. Or some people who did all that. They put the work in and got ready, because their life with their kid was the most important thing to them. Any of you who doesn't have time to deal, I've had guys who say, I don't got time to deal. I work 60 hours a week or whatever. Bitch, you don't work 24 hours? Your life with your kid is on the line. There's no excuse for that. I showed you guys in the YouTube shorts a dad who said, I just can't deal with it. My baby's mom, she messes with my head. She F's with me. I'm sick and tired of it. I can't deal with it. I just cut off my rights. And I just give her child support, and when the kid's 18, then we'll deal with it. I just don't have to deal with it. So he protected himself from her trauma and torture and passive-aggressive gaslighting, narcissistic abuse. But that bitch-ass faggot didn't want to protect his own kid from her. Pathetic. You think I shouldn't call that out for what it is? You think I should say, oh, good for him for protecting his peace while his child is suffering? If you had, and narcissists, they can bamboozle you. I got in a narcissistic relationship a few years ago. I had to get a domestic violence protection order against a chick. And I got suckered like a dumbass because I wanted to play Captain Save-A-Hole. I saw some signs. I didn't think that I didn't see the person that she really was, but she had some great evidence of being a victim, because she had some battle scars from a fight, but it turned out she started the whole fight and she had it coming. And so anyway, I was a dumbass for that. And I could call it that and learn my lesson and move on. Overly sensitive, thin-skinned, single mom-raised, bitch-ass faggot dads are out here whining and crying because I tell them some truth. Didn't you ever wrestle or play basketball or play baseball or even on the swim team or play football and have a coach yell at you, you're doing this wrong, go and do it right. I told you to do it this way. This is what works. We don't do that around here. If you did, then why are you turning into a pussy and getting thin-skinned when I tell you this is the way to fight? People will go out of their way to argue with me on YouTube or somewhere in the comments about how harsh I am and stuff like that. And they'll spend all that energy and they were a pussy in court. Why didn't you argue like that in court for your kids? Why are you spending so much time arguing against me? It's your own loss. A lot of you are dysfunctional. That's why you had such an effed up relationship, because there's some effed up in your head. But that doesn't mean that you're a bad father. That doesn't mean your kids don't need a father. So go rescue your kids. Dysfunction and all. But when people get pissed at me, oh, you charge for your time, you're taking advantage of guys at their low point. Mother effer, I'm solving a problem. A locksmith who comes and fixes your key that's broken in the keyhole and you can't get into your house or in your car, or a tow truck or a fireman or a doctor or a policeman or a psychologist, they all solve problems and get paid for it. Mother effer, you don't think that the most important problem in life, rescuing your kid, is worth getting some information that you might have to pay for? I went through blood, sweat, and tears to find this out. And mother effing welfare bitch-ass hoe fathers with this diva mentality, this welfare mentality, oh, you should give it to me. You just got done paying an attorney $45,000 and you didn't get shit from it. And a few $20 bills with me, you won't do it because you're offended? You're a mother effing dysfunctional, mentally ill dumbass. And that's why you're in the situation you are. And most of you guys who say, oh, I wish I would have found you years ago. And this, I've been out here on the internet since 2008. I've had websites or social media presence. If you would have just looked a little bit, you would have found me. You didn't look. Stop saying all that bullshit. I hate dealing with fake, hot air, bullshit, talk, yak, ramble. Mother effer, let's get to work. Do you want to fight for your kids? Okay, let's get an appointment and go for it. Or if you say, what packet do you think I need to defend against a restraining order? I got one packet for that. Here it is. And here's a couple videos that are free. You're probably better off getting a consult with me. But some guys have won their restraining order, fought them off, or removed them just by getting my packet. And I'm somebody who fought off multiple restraining orders because they were all bullshit. Yet nobody wants to listen to me because it's $45 for a packet after you spent $45,000 on an attorney. You're effed up in the head. Something is effing wrong with you. So I'm not going to apologize for calling bullshit on bullshit. And there's guys who want to send me text messages for days. Mother effers don't even ask me, hey, I have my files and stuff. Where should I send it? They just bomb me with text messages with stuff I can't even read on the phone. You really think I can read a deep court file on the phone? And first of all, I'm not going to spend, a lot of guys will say, okay, I want to set up a consult. Did you have a chance to read all my stuff? Mother effer, you think I'm going to spend 12 hours reading some shit that you haven't even explained to me and try and guess and figure it out? And then you'll pay me to talk to me about it? There's something effed up in your dumbass mother effing head. We are our own worst enemy. And this isn't necessarily I'm complaining about what people have done to me because I just don't waste my time with that. But I'm astounded at the mother effing pussy ass bitches out there who they got to have everything lined up and they need to be affirmed and they need me to hug them and cuddle them and talk with them for hours to see if I'm worth their time and money and energy. Bitch, I show you my winning orders. What more do you need besides seeing my winning orders? What more do you need besides $50,000 worth of free videos on YouTube? That was a while ago I counted up. It's way more now. I'm sharing information and insight and strategies and things about stuff you guys have never heard of from your attorneys for free, and bitches still complain. It's your loss. It's just amazing to me. Like, I grieve at how my gender has become more pussified in the 25 years that I've been dealing with this stuff. There's been not a dent or a scratch in the family court system, and my gender continues to act like pussies. And then when I tell them, man, I mean, it's the same thing when you see David Goggins or I forget this dude's name, really buff guy who has a podcast. He used to be fat. He's always driving around in some sports car and talking shit and stuff. He's like, mother effer, get up and move. It doesn't matter whether you feel like it or not. Men go and, Andrew Tate, he has a great line. He goes, a man goes into the house that's on fire because it's his duty to go in and rescue his family. Nobody feels like doing that. Nobody gives a shit about how a man feels in general. So nobody knows what men go through on a daily basis. There's people I'm taking care of right now in my life after spending, my daughter's 25 now. She recently turned 25. Right after she moved out of the house, my mom needed some help. My mom is elderly and she's struggling with multiple health issues. So I gradually would help her out here and there and drive her around town and pick her up and stuff like that. But now I've turned into her full-time caretaker because nobody else in my family can do it. She's divorced. My mom didn't take care of shit. No, I have a younger sister who helps me out, but she's married and got her own life. So right after sacrificing my whole life for my daughter for 20 years and getting shit on by the mother, here I am rescuing my mother and keeping her alive so we don't have to spend all of her savings and put her in a home or whatever. Nobody gives a shit about that. But I don't care about, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because nobody else is there to do it. Like I said, my parents are divorced. My mom and dad didn't plan out stuff. And I got a sister with Down syndrome that I'm the co-guardian of with my mother. So I'm really taking care of her too. So I'm taking care of two people after devoting my life as a single parent. And I get shit on all the time. By the world, by what's going on and stuff. Like, I don't talk about this as much, but this is the reality. And so I'm telling you this because I'm not just on here talking shit to you guys to make you feel bad or whatever. I'm saying wake the F up. You don't have any excuses. I've been where you've been. I'm not somebody. So all the guys, Dad Talk Today, fathers are important. One guy that's really good is Fathers Lives Matter. This dude in Montana. He actually got full custody himself. He never even collected child support. He's helped dads before. That guy's a real one. But he's turned his social media into a whole bunch of memes, and he's doing the same thing everybody else is doing. But I have respect for him because he won in court. All these other guys lost in court. Now, you guys, if you guys follow present father, Randy, he just said that he went to trial, and the mother said, I don't even want custody anymore. Give him custody. I just want decision making. So she wants every other weekend. So she never really cared about the kids. She just alienated him. And that bitch ass hoe, Randy, gave 50-50 to her. But now he's cool with having custody because his Lord and Savior, the bitch ass mother, said it's okay. See what a sellout bitch simp that guy is? And some of you guys out there worship that mother effer. I had a guy comment, oh, why are you criticizing him? What are you doing? Randy encourages dads. Yeah, he encourages dads to bend over and take it up the butt and never clap back at the mother. That's a bitch ass move. And he let his kids get abused. What kind of a... Why do you need encouragement from a loser? The stuff that men say, it's freaking insane. When you guys go to family court, it's like the Twilight Zone, right? It's a backwards world. It's a flipped upside down. It's a totally different world when you go in there. And people act crazy and weird and then treat you like shit. And think you're a monster just because the mother says so. Okay. When I walked in the first courtroom, the bailiff was treating me like shit and said, sit down and calm down. I'm like, I'm just handing you my papers, working copies for the judge. Just sit down and calm down. Because the mother was trying to get an anti-harassment order, so he thought I was a monster. Later on, I got a job at the courthouse, and I saw that bitch talk bad about everybody in the courtroom behind their backs, So I saw he was just a gossip little bitch. And he's a short little dude, so he plays savior for all the women who came to court. So he's playing savior by flexing on me and talking shit to me. But I guess what I'm trying to say, I've been where you guys have been and overcame it and won. All these other guys have been where you've been, and they're affirming your feelings of disgruntledness and frustration with the court. But that's it. And you guys think that's good enough. The end goal is getting your kids. So the beginning of this video, I said this is about worry about yourself. Take care of yourself. Think of yourself first. All these other things, these guys affirming the condition they're in. F that. Take care of yourself. What's wrong right now? I'm not seeing my kid. Go fight for and fix that. Stop wasting your time just doom scrolling about how bad the court system is. All you're doing is feeding hopelessness into you. Learn from somebody who won. I'm about the only one out there that I know who's out there teaching this stuff and talking about it and doing one-on-ones with people. There's a couple other guys left in the country, but they're one of them's kind of secret. Another one's kind of off the grid. There was the Best Fathers' Rights group that I ever saw was in Las Vegas. They had a whole office and a whole staff. I don't know if it was volunteers or paid workers, but they had one woman secretary, and they had a sign that women weren't allowed, but she was a pro-father woman. And they had at least 20 people in there when I walked in. I just wanted to check them out and meet them. And that mother effer sold that law firm to an attorney, and he said he would keep the father's rights, emphasis alive, and he didn't. And so even the guys who've been around that are like OGs in the father's rights movement, they still turn into bitches and do sellout shit. It's insane to me. Let me look at these. Female teachers being dominant person in their lives. I'm not sure what I was talking about when you said that. Useless stuff for useless people. That's what the weak sauce bro man dudes do. I have a friend who helps in housing issues, and the same cheapskates do the same thing to him. He's kept people in their homes with $0 payment for 16 years, and they can't pay him pennies. I see. This was me, but with motor vehicle, you need this passion or you're a shark food. I'm not sure what you mean with motor vehicle. Maybe that's a typo. Stockholm syndrome, there you go. Yeah, some of these guys got Stockholm syndrome with their baby's mom. And so they're captive by, like, I'm sure Randy, present father, I'm sure he was the victim of narcissistic abuse because the children were victim of alienation. And right off the bat, he wanted to help her and he wanted her to have 50-50. That's a sign of a victim who's trying to do whatever. See, I've been over backwards for women in relationships and catered to them and tolerated stuff because, you know, most men don't want any drama, so we let stuff slide, we let it roll off. But then deep down, the women are like, oh, this bitch won't stand up to me. I'm going to disrespect him even more. But how about you just don't nag me in the first place and then we have peace instead of playing this game? But that's just what they do. So I've done that before. But when it came to my child, the war was on. This bitch was withholding my own flesh and blood from me. That was it. I do not understand a guy who says, oh, I still love her, or I still want to work it out. I want to be all this goody two-shoes Boy Scout bullshit. That's some simp shit. If somebody steals your kids and then wants a ransom, and then you pay the ransom, they give the kid back, and they give the kid back, or they say, well, let's go out for some tea and crumpets and try and work stuff out, and just so we can part ways after you give me the ransom. You won't do that. This bitch stole your kids and is traumatizing your kids and abusing your kids. You should treat them just like you treat a stranger who abuses your kids. It's the same abuse. Stockholm syndrome, yep. You worship the baby's mom or your allegiances to her over you rescuing your kids. Now, when you have a baby's mom, whether you're married or a wife or girlfriend, when you guys separate, maybe she'll come back and you guys will reconcile. I've seen cases like that. A lot of guys think, the beginning of the case, man, why are we fighting? If we just spend all this money on the kids and we do this, then everything will be good for the kids. The bitch is not thinking about that, mother effer. Stop wanting her to think like you. The moment or day she takes your kids, the war is on. And if she's willing to get back with you, then it'll happen whether you fight her or not. Some of you guys won't fight because you're thinking, well, that'll just turn off any chance of ever being back together. Well, think about this. You will always be the father of your children. That can never change. You don't divorce your kids. If you divorce the wife, she may not be your wife anymore. Your girlfriend, your baby's mom, they may not be your girlfriend anymore. But these kids are always your kids. Go save the relationship that's permanent. This relationship that's up and down, why are you trying to salvage it at the risk of your permanent relationship? It makes no damn sense. Unless you're still in love and you're kissing her ass. And you know, the person who, so I've had two crazy cases, my baby's mom, and then I told you I was a victim of narcissistic abuse by a chick several years ago. I had to go get a protection order. I didn't want to do it, but she was a crazy, psychotic, demonic bitch. And she was playing several guys. She became a professional playing guys and playing victim. And as soon as I woke up to it, boom, I had to cut it off. And it hurt to do that, partially because, you know, I really cared about her. I was friends with her before that. That made it easier for her to be able to pull the wool over my eyes because I saw the decent side of her, which is a big show or whatever. And there were some signs that I ignored like a dumbass, like most guys do. But once the writing was on the wall is over and I had to cut off and end it and hurry up and get over whatever pain or whatever. But the biggest pain was that I got suckered by some ghetto ass, stupid, airheaded whore who's a subhuman piece of shit because right around the time I broke up with her, she started abusing one of her kids. That's somebody I don't want anything to do with ever in life. And then so when we parted ways, and I told a couple people around her, like, watch out for this chick. She's playing games. If you're giving her money or doing anything, she's manipulating a bunch of people. Then she threatened me, so I had to get a protection order against her. So, in any case, okay, let's see what this one says. Okay, so after I just won against my ex motion to transfer, we are headed to mediation, but she is trying to everything and not being reasonable. Doesn't matter. Play hardball. And her credibility is shot in court. How do you see it going? You go to mediation and say, if you don't settle on my terms, I'm like, let's say she wants to have 60-40 and you have 40%. You're like, look, I'm not walking out of here with less than 50-50 and joint decision making. And then if we can't agree to something, then I get the final say. Otherwise, I'm going to court for full custody, and I'll put you on the stand for a day. I'll take the stand for a day. I'm going to make you look stupid. I'm going to ask for a mental health evaluation. I'm going to ask for them to completely recommended treatment. You know you got narc personality disorder and bipolar disorder and this and that. And you're going to spend $20,000 on an attorney, and I'm going to do it for free. I would leverage the mediation. Pride but huge egos. Feeding the fail. Hit the like button. Thank you. Fighting. What my phone has a mark that scratches blood. Fighting with themselves. My wife. I went to get a divorce and we talked it out at the courthouse. I mean, that's the way to go. If you guys, especially if you got kids, why can't you just... One time I went to ex parte and I was doing something on my case, or maybe I was filing something for somebody, because I've done some process serving and delivering of papers and dropping stuff off. But I saw this couple get up there, and they were all reasonable, and they went in there with an agreed divorce and they signed it off. And it was grieving to watch, because it's like, you know, marriage is a God thing, and it's, you know, it's a covenant, it's a deep spiritual thing, and then for someone just to go through the fast food drive-through courtroom of ex parte and just say, okay, it's over with, and just part ways, it was kind of sad and grieving at the same time. But you guys are going to go and separate instead of going to war and putting the kids in the middle of it. I mean, everybody talks about this in society, like people put the kids in the middle of it. Even people who aren't really keen and haven't been through family court, it's sad they put the kids into it and put them in the middle, and the kids suffer, but they don't know the gravity of it. But they still know that it's wrong, and then it still goes on, and the court still does what it does. So nothing's going to change. You have to go in and unbrainwash the court. You have to go in and fight for your kids. You have to go in and advocate for yourself. You have to go in and do what you need to do to fight for your kids, because what you do in court now will determine the rest of your life with your kids. Now, that's no guarantee. What I'm saying right now is no guarantee that you're going to walk out with custody or even 50-50 or whatever. But if you fight the wrong way, that's a guarantee you're going to get screwed. Just like, let's say you're a bodybuilder and you have a trainer or somebody who's won some bodybuilding competitions, like just in the local area, Southern California or something, nothing national, Mr. Universe or anything. And so you want to get in shape, and they say, do this and do this, work on this body part, balance the stuff out, and make sure you start cutting at this time, and make sure you get rest period to build muscle and all this other stuff. If they give you a great protocol, that's still no guarantee that you're going to win. But if you do less than that and cut corners, that's an automatic loss. Anybody in any sport, in college, final exam, if you study your ass off, you give yourself the best chance to do well on the test. That's not a guarantee you're going to get 100 or get an A. But you'll be way better prepared than if you don't study and you party and you drink and don't go to class. And the guys I'm talking to aren't doing shit or attempting shit. They're blindly handing money over to their attorney and trusting their attorney, trusting the guardian ad litem, trusting this and that. And, you know, when I first got blindsided in court, I was eager and anxious to say my side of the story. A lot of guys go to court and they're waiting for an investigator to do something, and they're waiting for the judge to figure it out. And they'll go in there and say, hey, I'm a nice guy. Everybody at my job loves me. I got a couple declarations from friends here. Please help me be a good dad and be involved in the kid's life. Thank you very much. And the mother is viciously on the offensive attacking you, and you won't defend yourself because it's not true and you don't have to say anything. Well, it's people who are getting framed in court, in criminal court, the stuff's not true, but their attorney is attacking every witness that goes up on the stand. Think about this. Like, if you're old enough to know about the O.J. Simpson case or any other major case, like the Johnny Depp case, the attorneys were grilling the accusers. The whole purpose of court is to destroy the credibility and testimony of other people. You don't do that by being a pacifist little bitch ass hoe. You don't do that by being a Boy Scout and being a nice little pussyfoot tiptoeing around. This is war. And there's so many guys that just like, oh, I hope the judge will just see it. I'm not going to go to court and talk about the factors of the mother's alienation and willingness to facilitate a relationship with the other parent, her parenting functions or parenting duties, her addiction to Ambien or, nighttime pills or whatever, mixing them with alcohol. I don't want to talk about all that. I'll just go and be a nice guy and hopefully I get custody. You're out of your dumb mother effing stupid ass lazy bitch mind. And I can't emphasize, this is why I talk the way that I talk, because you're effing insane and you don't have common sense that God gave a monkey. Look at criminal court. When somebody is falsely, the O.J. Simpson case, Johnny Cochran was grilling the crap out of people and he wouldn't stop. That's the point of court, you moron. And you want to go to court and play Mr. Nice Guy or avoid court because you don't want to put your baby's mom on the stand and hurt her feelings? If she abused your kids, most women don't learn a lesson through logic. They don't understand logic. Women learn lessons like if they want to manipulate you and they say, I don't care about you, I don't like you anymore, and then you walk away with no explanation, they can't stand that. You cut them off, they can't stand that. They start hitting you and punching you and pulling your hair and stuff, and you slap them back. They don't expect that because they expect to be a diva and a guy will never touch them or whatever. I'm not saying go around and start hitting women, but when you see these F around and find out videos, like, women's want equal rights, they get equal lefts or whatever. And there's more women nowadays saying that's what you get. You want to fight a man like a man, and you think you're equal, but women have this delirious Jezebel, manipulative, control freak, witchcraft entitlement to bully and manipulate a guy, narcissistic abuse. And they can't stand it when you don't care anymore. And they don't learn a lesson through, this is how you logically do that. This is how we logically reason and work. They're not thinking like dudes. Stop being a bitch of a dude and expect a woman to think like a man. They won't. Once they show you can't negotiate with terrorists. I don't know how else to say this. Some of you just won't learn, and there's people who call me. There's a guy in the comments on YouTube. He said, I did the pussy thing. I saw your videos and I didn't listen. I got totally screwed. You guys know that I'm right, except for the haters who are triggered out of their wounds. If a woman is raped and then she goes on a date, my sister who passed away, I could talk about this because she's passed away, but she was violated when she was young. And then a guy asked her out and he was built like the guy who violated her, and she didn't want anything to do with him. And she talked to me about it because he was harassing her. Like, how come you don't like me and this and that? You just, and it flashed her back to that guy who violated her. So if you're getting violated in family court, and I talk about fighting through that, or I talk about, something that you did wrong, it triggers that wound of the original trauma and you don't like it, so you get mad at me. But I'm dealing with the reality stuff, just like a drill sergeant in the military. I want you to be thick-skinned and tough and prep you for court because it's a war. It's like you guys you want reality to go away. You have to go to war. If you're going to be a triathlete, you have to run, 100 miles a week, and you have to swim 20 miles a week, and you have to bike pedal 300 miles a week, or whatever it is. You can't be ready for the test or the competition without going through some pain and suffering and trial and error and building muscle and building endurance and all that stuff. I shouldn't even have to explain this shit to people, but they don't get it. And so I used to be patient and kind and nice and tell them, fathers, you could do it. I did it. You could do it and stuff like that. And dads would want to drain me and talk forever on the phone and do it for free and not pay me when I volunteer with Dads America. get on the phone, ask them about the case. Like, well, let me tell you what happened. Well, I don't need all the details. I just need to know this and that. What kind of father's advocate are you if you don't want to listen? Bitch, you faggot little crybaby bitch. I'm not Dear Abby. I'm not Oprah. I'm not your counselor. Do you want to get help and answers, or do you want to go pay for a counseling session if that's what you need? I'm not a counselor. I'm a warrior, and it's time to go to war, bitch. And if you don't want to, then you'll regret it. And it's just insane to me because there's guys who went through hell for a short period of time, and now they have peace the rest of their life with their kid. My case is extremely rare because there's a combination of a whole bunch of stuff, including a crazy attorney who had an appetite for fighting just for fun and stirring up shit. And he loved the challenge of doing something that was illegal, and he was always looking for something illegal to do because he got off on violating law. Plus, I filed bar complaints against him. I tried to get a restraining order against him twice, and I talked shit to him outside of court, and it was his ego. He couldn't take it, so he had to just fight me. It was personal. Most of you won't deal with that. And I've dealt with dads who, as soon as they turned around and grew some mother effing balls and let their balls drop, just a couple times, the mothers were calling them, wanting them to surrender. Like, what are you doing? Remember I told you how, the women, they think you're a punk if you let them disrespect you. Once you stand up to them, they almost respect you half the time. I've had so many guys, as soon as they file one motion or a contempt motion, the mother's calling, please don't do this, please don't do this. I had one guy who filed a contempt motion. The mother slammed the door on a police officer's face and said, get the F out of here. I'm not giving the kids over. And the cop couldn't do anything because it was a civil matter. That guy did contempt, and the mother was crying. He called me up and said, hey, I'm thinking about dropping it. She's calling crying. I'm like, you mother effing pussy ass bitch. Why are you even calling me and asking? Finish the job. It's like a horror movie. Like, you don't take Jason out on Friday the 13th, or you don't take the Terminator out and burn the core processor or whatever. Finish the job, or they'll keep coming back, you dumbass mother effer. If you don't kill Hitler and take him out, he will come back some other way. Or Darth Vader, or whatever fantasy or realistic movie. We all know this shit. The biggest fight we have is for you to fight your inner bitch, as Joe Rogan calls it. You need to take care of you and stop worrying about everything else and worrying about waiting on the father's rights. The father's rights movement faggots are sitting there saying, I really feel it in my heart. There's momentum now. They've been saying that for 25 years. They were saying it before. I've studied the past a little bit. Kramer versus Kramer. Dustin Hoffman had a movie where he was exposing her. Robin Williams in Tootsie. Is it Tootsie? Where he was the maid. And he disguised himself as a maid who got hired by his ex-wife so he could see his kids and be around his kids. Those exposed the pain and anguish for her father in a custody battle. Did anything change, mother effers? No. Divorce Corp, the best documentary in the history of TV and the internet. Divorce Corp. I have a link to it in my flow page. 2-minute video trailer about false allegations. It's the best documentary that's been done. It's better than anything I've ever seen from anybody, including Pearl or whoever. Shit didn't change. And the guy who created it, he fell off the face of this earth. I don't know if somebody killed him or he just quit like a bitch. I wrote him. I told him, dude, you going to Congress and having these meetings isn't going to change stuff. He goes, well, we're going to try and we're going to do this. I said, you mother effer. I'm somebody who's been doing this 12 years. You just came on board and did a documentary and interviewed some people. You don't know shit. If you do this, you're wasting your time. He did some congressional meetings and then he disappeared. Nothing has changed. You need to go with what has worked for me and thousands of other dads, despite the corruption of the courts. During the slavery times, Harriet Tubman had the Underground Railroad. Slaves were slaves. They were, it was illegal for somebody to steal them or to give them their freedom. It was perfectly legal for, the plantation master to have them. Despite all the evil going on, there were people who were rescuing slaves. Harriet Tubman had the Underground Railroad. Despite what was going on, people were still fixing stuff. They weren't sitting around and waiting for Abe Lincoln to do the emancipation. They're like, get me out of here now. I'm on a rescue mission, or I'm on a mission to help guys rescue their kids now, despite the system. Stop freaking waiting around for the system to change or fix. It's not doing it anytime soon. Even if you watch my videos on 50-50. You get a 50-50 law passed. There's an exception. Unless there's domestic violence or child abuse. There's a presumption of 50-50. And Mark Ludwig, Ryan the tough dad, all these other guys get an erection every time they see a state that adopts 50-50. I saw people saying, well, in Kentucky, they're not filing divorce as much. That's because the bitches that they're going to go there, that thought they had the system on their side, that weren't going to be confrontational anyway, they were just going to railroad a guy with minimal effort. Those ones pull back. But the vicious ones who attack and destroy, they're still going there. There's a guy in the comments of a post where someone's talking about, oh, Kentucky has 50-50 laws. And this guy said, I'm in Kentucky. That's bullshit. They're screwing guys over. And I've been saying that all along. Because if there's an exception to the 50-50, you get a presumption of 50-50. You still have to go through all the factors in the law. And then on top of that, it says if they find domestic violence or child abuse, then 50-50 is out the window. Missouri, it says if the judge doesn't feel it's in the best interest of the child, the judge can waive the 50-50. So he presumes 50-50, goes through the factors, and then in the end he says, you know what, I don't think it's in the best interest of the child. We're right back to the vague best interest of the child, so your 50-50 law didn't mean shit. These fathers' rights groups write laws so stupidly, my sister with Down syndrome would read them and say, this doesn't make sense. Why would you say presume 50-50 and at the end say if the judge doesn't think it's in the best interest, he could throw the 50-50 thing out? Why doesn't it have to be? The only way a 50-50 law will work is everybody automatically gets 50-50. If somebody moves away, the parent who doesn't move gets custody and the other parent has to visit. The only way a dad doesn't get 50-50 is if there's a criminal conviction of child abuse. That's where you go to court and you actually have due process. But in family court, a mother has to say, oh, he's abusive. And like, oh, preponderance evidence, father, mother. I believe the mother. Boom. No more 50-50. The mothers already get custody now on false allegations of domestic violence and child abuse. And so mother efforts like Mark Ludwig and Ryan the tough dad and everybody else are pushing 50-50 laws. And they'll always have an exception unless there's abuse or domestic violence. If women are already getting custody by using that argument, if you say, hey, the dad can have 50-50 unless there's abuse or domestic violence, what do you think the women are going to use for their strategy when they're already using it? They're going to call that out even more. They're going to use that even more. Dumbass mother effing legislating bitch-ass pussies. These politicians that write it up, Mark Ludwig, the Father's Rights Movement, all these bitch-ass hoes. I've seen guys come and go. You know, the Father's Rights Movement leader in Washington was some Filipino kid who was always dressing in suits, going to the Capitol in Olympia and getting his rocks off and getting all sexually aroused because he had these photo ops. It's the most significant, important thing he did in his life. And he's up there talking, I could feel it in my soul. There's momentum. All it is a guy got screwed in family court. He gets around other guys who get screwed and they all want to do something and they feel momentum in their feminine feelings. It doesn't mean shit. I've always hated just talk. Talk is cheap. I've always hated a bunch of hot air. I remember when I was a kid in elementary school or middle school, around the time when everybody's liking each other and going with one another, and I was still scared of girls. And you know, you walk down the hallway and you know, people say, hey, how are you doing? I always hated that. Don't you have something more creative than to say, how are you doing? Like, you don't really want to know how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. Just say, hey, what's up? Or just say hi. But all the extra phony stuff, ever since I was a kid, I hated phony hot air words that didn't mean shit. I like action, like Marshawn Lynch said. I'm all about that action, boss. I don't want to talk about what we're going to do. All these fathers' rights groups are talking about what they're going to talk about when they have a meeting, to talk about what they're going to talk about to do eventually. And they haven't done shit. I went and got full custody of my daughter at age 7 months. I won contempt. I fought off bogus restraining orders 7 different times that the mother tried to do. And then I got a domestic violence protection order against a crazy chick that I dated, like a dumbass. And then she tried 4 different times to go back to court and retaliate and get one against me and lost. I've been to jail. I've won in the Court of Appeals a couple times. What else do you need to know? If you see all that and you don't even want to get an appointment or inquire or ask a question or do something, there's something effing wrong with you. Because, again, I'm the excuse destroyer. When I was totally lost and was blindsided with family court, I was starving for answers. I was desperate. I was anxious. If I went to court and fought for my kid, and lost and went home and cried myself to sleep. The next day I'm up. What can I do next? What can I do? Most of you guys out there are like curling up in a ball in a corner and crying about it. And it hurt while I was on the way. It hurts when you're in a war and you're fighting, but it's either kill or be killed or you don't go home. It hurts when you're in a football game and it's close or you're losing and you're beat up and you're sore, but you grow some balls and you tough through it. Mostly everything in life hurts, and when you overcome it, it's way more gratifying than if you just cruise through something and never learned a lesson. We know all this stuff, but we don't apply it to family court. I was starving and anxious for answers, and when Goldberg and Jones said, you'll get every other weekend, I said, I live 3 blocks from the mother. I work at night. I could be my child's daycare. We had that plan. We were going to do a 50-50 plan before her fat, ugly sisters who never had a boyfriend got in there and said, cut him off, screw him. And she obeyed them since they're her Lord and Savior. Goldberg and Jones said, you'll still probably get every other weekend. I said, are you out of your damn mind? And I hung up. But most of you guys go, oh, you're a father's rights law firm. You have that title. So I totally believe you. No discernment. No looking past the hot air bullshit. You just believe some words just because you believe them. Everybody's got to stay at home, not touch everybody, wear a mask, and do all this other stuff that traps, 11 pathogens, and one of them causes bacterial pneumonia, which kills people, which killed everybody in the Spanish flu, because nobody effing reads shit. We got all bamboozled because everybody in society was a big fat pussy. Now everybody's got all kinds of courage to stand up to the cops or ICE or talk shit. But when there's some real fascism going on, everybody stood down like a bitch. I know I didn't. I went out about and walked around and did whatever. I never wore a mask outside. I did going in somewhere sometimes, just so I didn't have to deal with the bullcrap. But what I would wear is I'd wear a paisley bandana. And I was proving a point, because you could easily breathe through those, and you blow on them, and they, when you put them in a triangle upside down. So it's winter up here. I have a Scully, or what do you call it, a ski cap or a knit hat, and I'm wearing a hoodie, and then I got a mask on. If I would have walked in a store or a gas station like that before COVID, I'd have got arrested, or they would have called the cops. But I'm walking in there looking like a criminal that's about to rob the place. So I just kind of made a joke about it, but I never drove around alone in a car with a mask on. I never wore a mask outside where there's air breathing, because I did the research, and now Fauci and them were saying the mask thing was bullshit. But everybody believed it, because everybody's a pussy-ass bitch for the most part. Most people are sheep. There's a reason why we're called sheep in the Bible, because we're a bunch of sheep are one of the dumbest animals. And when you get us in a herd, and if one person does something, another person does something, we just follow everybody. Everybody's scared of rejection or scared of looking different. Or everybody talks shit about I'm my own person on social media, and I don't follow a crowd. But when it comes time for the crowd to actually do something, everybody follows them like a bitch. So, if you don't like my approach, you don't have to follow it. You will probably lose. If you learn how to engage in the war of attrition, if you focus on you, on an airplane, they tell the adults when they do the warning about if we have an emergency, strap yourself in and get the oxygen so you can breathe and you can rescue your kid. If you're spinning your wheels and being part of a father's rights group and all this other stuff, and you ain't spending time on rescuing your kid right now or thinking about your rights, you take care of yourself first and you rescue your kid, then you can help other people, then you can be part of a father's rights group. F these bitches out here and wanting to recruit you to be part of whatever. You're wasting your time on groups that have never proven that they can accomplish or do anything. Every once in a while they'll have somebody, I got custody. That's because somebody worked their ass off or fought the right way, or the mother just gave up. But if you see 300 comments on Dads Matter 247 on Facebook, on the Father's Rights Movement groups, on Randy's page, Dad Talk Today, it's all, just look at it. Aren't you sick of seeing that shit? Aren't you sick of seeing all the different ways that guys lose in court? And you come across my page and you're like, oh, there's some guys who say, there's a guy on Facebook. He came on my page. He's in England. He said, I'm such a scammer. And then he said, I got custody in 2001. What a scammer. In 2001, it was 100 times harder. The internet didn't have case law research so easily available. Court forms were not easily available. I had to go down to the law library in the courthouse. We didn't have e-filing until like 2010 in Seattle. You guys could do your entire custody battle from your bed, not your bedroom, from sitting in your bed. And this bitch, tongue ring, septum ring, bitch musician in England who didn't fight the right way is talking shit about me, and he lost and I won. And people are so delusional, they actually think that they're doing something, talking shit to somebody who won and got their kid while they're losing out on their kid. If I ever came across somebody who got full custody when I was in the middle of my custody battle, I would be calling them up and saying, what can I do? How do I do it? How do I get a hold of you? And the guys who win the fastest, they're the ones who call me the fastest, act the fastest. They call me up and say, hey, I need a consult with you. I watch your video. You know your shit. You're the person I've been looking for or I need to talk to. How do I get a hold of you? How do I set an appointment? But where do I pay? Boom. And they get immediate results a lot of times. Now, that's no guarantee. I never guarantee anything for you guys. There's these guys like Dad's Law School, that gay attorney with the beard in Los Angeles, who he tells dads, don't do contempt when I won contempt. He's a pussy-ass bitch, just like Texas Family Code, the Texas Code 2503. That guy has a book. He says, here's the code. If you fill out a declaration like this, then you'll be able to tell the judge everything that you need to know. And here's a list, and 50-point list of different things to do. He misleads you into thinking that's a winning formula, when the real winning formula is engaging in the long haul war of attrition. So you get his book and you go to court and you don't win over the judge because of the bias and stuff. Then you don't know about reconsideration. Then that bitch, what's his name? I forget the attorney's name. Dad's Law School. There's people who told me they got screwed over by him. He's making easy money by writing a book. And then Randy, the bitch from Present Father, is promoting the guy's book and making commission off of it. Randy is talking about how corrupt the court system is. The lawyers are the ones who become judges and make the system corrupt. And he's promoting the book from a lawyer. Don't you see how freaking insane this shit is? This shit is mind-boggling. When you guys, I don't think I finished this point. When you guys walk into family court and it's like the Twilight Zone in a whole backwards world and people are living and thinking way different, and attorneys will walk out of a family courtroom and say, that judge screwed over my client. They had a bias against the father and all. And they'll acknowledge it outside of court, but they won't talk about it in court. Bitch-ass, punk, sissy cowards. So everybody knows what's really going on. Everybody knows that the family court system is weird. That's how weird dads are outside of court too. When I talk to them and say, why don't you do this? Why don't you? Oh, I can't because my lawyer and I can't. They got a backwards mentality. They're warriors when it comes to going to work every day and being on the grind. They're warriors when it comes to doing something hard. Or, you know, if somebody were to mess with their kid, they would go over to their house and beat the snot out of the parent if they let one of their kids beat up your kid. I don't know, on a sleepover or something. But then when it comes to family court, pussy-ass bitch. Pussy-ass bitch mode kicks in. Somebody said Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah, that was the one. Mrs. Doubtfire. What did I say? I said something different, right? Oh, I said Tootsie. That was Dustin Hoffman. Another cross-dressing movie. All that Hollywood ritual stuff. Mrs. Doubtfire, yeah. So Mrs. Doubtfire, you know, the whole world acknowledged how bad it was for fathers going back to the 70s. Kramer versus Kramer. Mrs. Doubtfire. And yet nothing has changed. And everybody gets sexually aroused and gets a hard-on because, oh my God, Johnny Depp's trial, this is going to bring, you know, everything. Johnny Depp is going to save us. Everybody's looking for a savior. You are the savior in your case for your kids, bitch. Stop being a bitch. Did I tell you? I don't know, I can't remember. Dad Talk Today, Eric Carroll, posted, Johnny Depp, where are you? You need to speak out on father's rights issues. Don't just have your trial and move on. You owe it to us. Eric Carroll is being a feminine faggot because women look for provision. Women look for protection from men. And this bitch wants Johnny Depp to rescue him like he's a female or damsel in distress. What a bitch ass fight. If you go to Eric Carroll, if you go to Dad Talk Today, look at the first thing that you see when you scroll on their website. A bunch of ways to donate and give them money. Now I have the donation or the payment option, but I show you where to find my free stuff first. I show you my links to my social media and stuff like that. And then I have an explanation of my store or an explanation of how to go through my flow page, which has a bunch of free information. Then there's my store. Then there's the payment options. I had a friend who I introduced work of a friend get in contact, and he gave up before he started. I tried to, sorry, I got things that are in the way at the bottom of my screen. I need a new phone, but I tried to help, but he threw in the towel immediately. Yeah. I mean, it is overwhelming. The initial trauma is overwhelming, but I mean, if you don't have a sense of urgency and it's not a priority and you want stuff to be easy, you're a single mom raised feminine dude. You didn't have a dad teaching you how to be a warrior and overcome. That's a great point or a great comment. Guys just throw in the towel and you're your own worst enemy and you will regret it. You will suffer more from all the, when you throw in the towel to make it easy now, it's just like anything else, delayed gratification. If I need to diet or I got type 2 diabetes and I'm like, I can't change my, my mom's got type 2. And then I started making meal prep for her and we drastically changed her diet and she's off insulin, after 6 months of being on it because her numbers were I think about 6 months. Her numbers were crazy high for a while. We just drastically changed her diet. She's off that, but she still got, other health issues, but she had to sacrifice and change stuff. And I forced it to happen. She couldn't move around at first for a while after suffering, a different health crisis. So she had to eat what I forced her to eat. And it totally changed her, her system. But it's delayed gratification. Okay, I'm going to suffer now, but I will have peace later on. 2 things that motivate me. I'm going to stand before God one day and give an account as to how involved of a father I was. And despite all my mistakes that I regret as a father and stuff I wish I could take back and undo, and I'll say stuff like that too, because I keep it real out here. I'm not like, if you watch these father's rights dudes, they'll talk about all the great things that they've done as a father, how good a father they are. Yeah, and that might be true. But I'm not afraid to talk about human flaws and keeping it real and being honest about this stuff. This is why you guys should be able to know you can trust what I'm talking about. This is why you guys shouldn't believe the hucksters, the hustlers and the con artists who are just full of hot air. They have no substance. And Randy let me finish this point, is delayed gratification. I'm going to stand before God and give an account of how involved a father I was. And then number 2, I'm going to have to face my daughter when she's 18. If I didn't fight for my daughter, I was terrified of facing my daughter and her saying, Dad, where were you in my life? How come you're not scared of that shit? What the F is wrong with you pussy ass bitches out there? You're going to face your kids when they turn 18 and say, where the hell were you? Oh, it hurt really bad. Your mom attacked me. Do you think they're going to give a shit about that? The dad's admitting he's a pussy ass bitch and didn't love his kids enough. Love causes you to go through. Love is not all pretty. Love is ugly. Love is clean. One time I had my daughter, she had the flu. She fell asleep on my chest and then she started to throw up. And I caught the throw up in my shirt and rolled her over my bed. I had a blanket on top of my blankets, rolled her over my bed, and then I went to the bathroom and I saved my bed from getting throw up all over. I caught in my shirt, threw the shirt away or whatever. That's love. Throw up. Cleaning up throw up. Doing the ugly shit. Guys out there want to say, I love my kids and that's good enough. I should qualify. I should have kids. Yeah, technically, in a just world that's not a fallen, sinful, evil world. Well, we live in an evil world, bitch. And we need warrior men to... What happens when Canada, China infiltrates Canada and they go to war with us? Everybody going to run and hide? So I like the Chinese. I like Canadians. I don't know why they're doing this. This is illogical. Why don't we negotiate with them? All you pussy-ass bitches will be the first one taken out. I don't understand. Some dad says, I'm quitting on my kids. You will face your kids. And they say, well, they'll figure it out when they're 18. You mother effing pussy-ass, ignorant dipshit. They're going to be brainwashed by then, and they will be tortured up until then. I'll be damned if everybody who got in my way, people who used to be friends of mine, who ended up slandering me, everybody who got in my way, I destroyed their lives for the moment. I made their lives uncomfortable. I took people to small claims court. I got invited on Judge Judy and Judge Joe Brown for 2 different lawsuits that I was going to do. Both sides have to agree on that, and they pay both sides and all that stuff. And if you win, they pay your winnings because they know it's hard to collect. But the other sides wouldn't agree because they were going to get humiliated. People who slandered me and came to court against me. And I still post on Facebook their declarations against me because they are friends of mutual friends. And I want to let everybody know what their legacy is. They wanted to destroy my life with my kid. I'm going to let them know it's unforgivable that you wanted to destroy a child because you were mad at me because I dated your girlfriend, or you were mad, or you were trying to just align yourself with my baby's mom to get in good graces with her because you guys had a falling out. That's the kind of stuff that happened in my case. Everybody, and I don't give a shit if nobody in the world liked me. If I got my daughter, who gives a shit? Some of you pussies are worried what everybody else is going to say about you. Why do you give a shit? In 5 or 10 years, they may not even be in your life, but you'll still be the father of your kid. How do you not fear facing your child, whether you believe in the God part or not? How do you not at least fear the number 2 thing I feared? Facing your child and saying, oh, I quit on you. You know what my daughter said to my baby's mom? My baby's mom abandoned my daughter for 1.5, 3 years, 5 years, and 7 years. And in between, she had periods of time where she did visitation. When my daughter turned 18 or 19, it was like a year after she turned 19. The crazy bitch, manipulative, narcissistic aunt who convinced my baby's mom to cut me off, and then they just fled the state after I won in court. My baby's mom's name is Sid. Her sister's name is Yvonne. So Yvonne reached out to my daughter and said, hey, we want to see you. And she's like, my daughter's like, why now? And she goes, well, the parenting plan's expired. Your dad can't withhold you from us anymore. And my daughter was like, my dad never withheld you from me. You know, I have all kinds of stuff and all kinds of pictures of me getting a t-shirt saying mommy's favorite when my daughter was going to go see her baby's mom, my baby's mom, because I wanted to. I'm sure my baby's mom felt bad, or I think she felt bad about abandoning her. So I wanted to know her. I want her to know your visitation is welcome with open arms. Now, if you want to get back in her life, I wanted to make it a comfortable transition as possible for the sake of my daughter, so that if she wanted to come back, she would come back fully. And then she'd abandon her for another couple of years and disappear. My daughter, at age 18 or 19, told Yvonne, why do you want to be in my life now? And Yvonne said, because the parenting plan expired, your dad can't withhold. And she goes, my dad never withheld you from me, or withheld me from you. And Yvonne was like, yeah, he did. And my daughter was like, no, he didn't. Yeah, he did. No. She goes, okay, let's say that my dad did. And my daughter told me this later. I don't even ask about that crap. She'll voluntarily tell me because she confides in me and she wants to share what's on her heart or whatever. And she said, let's say my dad did withhold me from you. She said, how come you didn't fight for me like my dad did when I was a baby? She totally, that was a, I don't know what you call it, burn on them or check them or rebuke of them. The kids see that stuff. Yes, how come you didn't, if my dad was so bad, how come you didn't fight for me then? She saw that. I was scared to death of facing my daughter. And I was willing to fight Even if I lost for 18 years, I was going to find every single way to fight for her so I could stand in front of her. She says, Dad, where were you? How come you're only every other weekend visitor? How come you only saw me once every few months? I'll say, go ask your mom about it, because look at this paperwork that goes all the way up to the moon. I was fighting for you nonstop for 18 years. Your mom fought to push me out. Boom, mic drop. But it turns out that mentality and willingness to fight for my kid and not stop like a bitch, you're either a warrior or a bitch. There's no in between. There's no, well, I tried for a little bit and I get brownie points for that. Or I tried for a little bit, I win a cookie. Or I tried for a little bit, I get a silver medal. Bitch, you're a warrior and fighting for your kid, or you're a quitting bitch. I don't understand how someone is not paranoid to face their kid when they're 18. And that whole bullshit about they'll figure it out, that's an excuse-making, cop-out, hot air bullshit. And I hate fakes, I hate phonies, I hate hypocrites. I will be honest to the point of looking like a flawed human being that somebody can make fun of before I will pretend to be somebody else and fake some shit or lie to you guys. I take it very seriously, everything that I say on here. I will never say something that could jeopardize somebody's case. If I say something that's just my opinion and it's not rooted in ground law, I say, hey, this is just my opinion, just what worked for me. If I say, hey, the law says this, I'll tell you to go look up the law yourself. And you can figure it out on your own, or get a consult with me and we can go over it in detail. This is not the law of James. The dad's law school gay boy who doesn't even have kids, who tells dads not to do contempt, that lawyer, that bitch that has a bitch partnership with Randy, present father, that dad, he's out here giving you fake promises about results. And because he's a lawyer and because it's the book, well, it must be right. I don't promise any results. And he's sitting there, guys like that who go out there, they'll say, hey, do this and you'll get that. Or don't do this and don't do that. I will never say something. I take it because I'm influential. Some people look up to me. The fact that I have some street cred because I won in court means it's a heavy responsibility for me to, even if I don't have that many followers or whatever, the few people who want to follow and want to win and want to fight, I will never say something that I don't know is 100% true or fact, or I will clarify, hey, I don't know if this will work, or I don't know if this is true. I don't make any promises. I'm very adamant about making sure I'm honest and real, and I don't give you any fake hype bullshit. This isn't, and see, that's where I probably don't get a lot of followers also. All these other guys are promising if you do this and do that, then you get this. Or the family court system is screwy, so you don't have a chance. I'll never say that stupid ass shit. I tell you what I did and what I went through, what worked for thousands of other people. You see testimonies on my page of other people. You see my winning court orders. All these other guys don't have shit that they show you. Or look at the child support is fraud Lionel guy. Do you ever see him showing a testimony? Do you ever see him showing you anything for free? He might say in an interview with somebody, oh yeah, due process and proof of service, and that's they don't have jurisdiction and all this bullshit, and then he doesn't tell you any hows or how to do. I got all kinds of videos where I go through step by step of certain things. Now, it's impossible to cover everything on your particular case. You need a one-on-one with me to figure all that stuff out. But I'm giving you a whole bunch of stuff up front. If you want to dive deep on your own, you can figure it out. It might take you days, weeks, or months to do it, where a consult with me will give you an answer within an hour. That's your choice. And I don't get mad at people for watching my free videos. But if I was a hustler and a con, I wouldn't tell you guys jack shit. And I would say, hey, look, you can win custody too. Look at what I did. Here's my winning orders. I'm a really nice guy. You nice guys out there, buy my stuff. And I would leave it at that. If I was going to hustle you, but at the risk of not getting rich, not making a bunch of money like I don't. Well, these guys are out here getting rich with some good sales pitch, and they got a graphic artist guy with some flashy video. I'm here for the content. If you can't recognize the content and the realness of what I'm saying, and then look at my actual winning orders and actual testimonies and actual content and think, I don't know if this is the guy, then you're a dumbass, low IQ, airheaded mother effer, and that's why you're in the situation you're in. I had a guy who, he had 2 different babies' moms. I'm talking to him on the phone about a hearing coming up, and he's on the phone. He's like, damn, there's so many fine bitches down here. I'm like, dude, can you focus for just a second? And then a few years later, 5 or 6 years later, he has another baby's mom. And then she takes off on the other side of the country. I said, well, I can help you with paperwork and this and that and all that stuff. And it would cost this much for us to get together this many times. And then he's like, I'm kind of broke right now. And then he calls me like 6 months later. I'm like, UCCJA, she's got jurisdiction over there. You have to go over there. Can you help me go over there? No. Bitch, you didn't give a shit. That dumb mother effer, he reached out to me. His kid like fell at Chuck E. Cheese and got a bloody lip. And then the mother called the police on him. He went down to the police station, answered a bunch of questions, incriminated himself, got a criminal child abuse case. And I said, why didn't you call me right after it happened or when the cops called you? I'm just calling you after I go through the... You stupid mother effer. You should not have went down to the police. If you guys Google YouTube, if you don't believe me, go Google top 10 reasons not to talk to the cops. A former defense attorney tells you never to talk to the cops. You have the right to remain silent. This mother effer voluntarily gave them stuff to use against him. Some of you guys are stupid, dumbass mother effers, and that's why you need help. And you're arrogant in your stupidity. And you're so arrogant, you think, well, I'll just walk into court and this will happen. Because in your own feminine mind, in your feelings, you think that the court should do something for you because you're entitled to it, like a single mother mom on welfare who feels entitled to free stuff. Men think logically and go into war, ready for war, looking out for ambushes, ready. Like when I went to court, I didn't even know anything about court. All I knew is the mother accused me of this. I have like 3 different documents that prove that wrong and a couple emails that prove that wrong. The first time I went to court, I had like 50 exhibits. Some of you dumbass mother effers just walked in the court with no paperwork or nothing. And then you talk to me and you're like, I'm like, I got text messages that prove that she was lying. Did you submit that to the court? No. Why not? I didn't know I had to. You dumb mother effer. Have you ever watched Law and Order or any movie with legal stuff? You ever seen them pull out exhibits? You don't need to be a legal scholar to know when somebody goes to court with a bunch of allegations and pictures of you swinging your arm back, and maybe you're throwing a baseball, and she said, that was him about to punch me. And then you got proof that you were at the ballpark that day, and you don't go into court with that proof? You're your own mother effing problem. And you need help. Okay, so it's all about your kid. Yep, that's what this is. My whole page is all about the kids. That's why I help mothers too. That's why I've helped grandparents too. I've helped grandparents get non-parent custody in those third-party custody cases. Somebody said carnivore eating. My grandmother stopped insulin after 45 years. She was on insulin for 45 years. I just saw a video on carnivore diet. Another friend had 3 months to live, stage 4. He made it to almost 2 years with strict carnivore. He had a botched gallbladder and surgery that ended him. Yeah, it looks like as long as you get, there's multiple ways to do this stuff, and it looks like as long as you get processed carbs out of the way, that's the biggest thing. But there's several different ways of doing that. Carnivore is obviously one, keep you in ketosis all the time. And cancer, I just watched a guy talk about cancer can't survive when you're in ketosis because that causes your mitochondria to beef up the burning process and cleaning out dirty cells and stuff like that. You were on Judge Judy? Wow. So the other side agreed. If you guys ever watch Judge Judy or any of those shows and you see somebody who looks like a stupid idiot making a fool of themselves, that person agreed to go on there. So they thought that they were going to win, or they wanted the fame, or they wanted the free stuff. How much for your second consult? I'm $80 an hour. And you could do any 30-minute increment. The first consult, I asked for an hour and a half because that's how much people need to get everything, the basics down. And so instead of 120, I take 20 off and make it an even 100. So I give people a break because I tell you, hey, look, you need an hour and a half, make it an even 100. After that is straight up $80 an hour. And remember, Family Court Corner is $250 an hour. Randy, that loser, Family Court Corner, she lost for 10 years and it took her $100,000 to get what she wanted, whatever that was, 50-50, I don't know. Randy, and as soon as I started exposing Family Court Corner, she blocked me from every place because she didn't want anybody to see any of that stuff because she's in it for the business. Randy from Present Father, $250 an hour. Judge Anthony, $750 an hour. Child support is fraud. He's got a book for $100 to tell you the way that he won in his case where he wasn't the father, which I don't know why his book should be one page. He has some seminar for $9 or $25, and then he has a fee for $3,500 to go to appear at a seminar. And if you want him to come to your house, you could do it you could give him $6,500 to do that, which sounds like a vacation for him and his family, and you're going to cover them staying there for a week, but you got to pay him $6,500 to sit and talk to you for 8 hours, which is insane. I guess somebody's doing it though, because it's on his page. So yeah, $80 an hour. That's my current rate. So I don't know anybody cheaper than that that's doing what I'm doing. And people tell me you need to charge higher so you look like your stuff is more valuable. I'm not going to do some fake shit. I'm not going to pay to boost posts. I'm not going to a whole bunch of see, it's easy for me to do live videos or TikToks and then repost them. I could sit down and do video. Last time I sat down and did a video and then I had to edit it, did it with a camcorder. I had to edit it. It took 3 days. I don't have time to do that all the time. If you recognize this stuff or not. And it's fizzling down more than ever into almost nothing. So I may be transitioning out of this. Maybe I'll make videos in my store and then just leave it at that and do like some last video that says, if you want some help, I got a video for every category: restraining orders, appeal, revision, getting ready for trial, where to even start. And I might have to just leave it at that and get a real job. Because people are just, there are periods where I was really busy. And I don't know if that was seasonal or like right after COVID, and people were doing stuff from home more and realizing, hey, you can do this yourself. But then that fizzled off and went back to, almost nothing. And then most of the time I'm spending time, people texting me, hey, I want a consult. And then the next day they say, okay, what day and time are you available? And I'm like, I'm wide open, like I said last time. And then they go back and forth and they send me a bunch of stuff and say, read this. I'm like, I can't do that stuff for free. And then they don't trust me. And then they disappear. So I'm talking, and then some people bomb me with stuff. And I literally go back. I had one person pay me for a consult and then had to change plans. And this isn't a knock on that person, but they had to change plans. And they're like, okay, I'm definitely going through with the first consult. And then right before the consult, he had to go. And then I don't think I've heard from him since. So I have to deal with stuff like that all the time, which tells me nobody's taking this seriously. And Dennis Gack from the National Brotherhood of Fathers' Rights, he's passed away now, I believe. He was my other side mentor, and he gave me some information. He kind of hustled me a little bit, but I still take the meat and spit out the bones. He's the one who talked to me about the war of attrition, and he basically abused the system against his ex-wife so bad. And he didn't abuse the system. He just used every recourse available. And the mom's attorney was calling him up saying, what does it take for you to settle? Like, we want to get you off of our back. So he flipped it around. And he gave me some bad advice, gave me some good advice. But, God, I forgot what I was going to say about him. Oh, he said he can count on one hand the number of dads who fought like me, which I thought was insane. I thought the way that I fought is the way every dad should be trying to fight. Nope. One of the guys who hated on me and criticized me for criticizing Present Father, He said, if your stuff worked, you would be reaching millions of people. No, bitch. Eating a whole food diet, intermittent fasting, exercise, and a disciplined lifestyle works for people, but we still have more in the history of the world in America. So just because something works doesn't mean it's going to be popular. But some faggot dick rider of Randy, present father, said, Randy's really nice and he makes me feel good in my precious, disturbed, heartbroken heart. And he makes me feel good, even though he hasn't done shit except lose in court, right? And the guy I was talking to is losing in court. How dare you come out here and talk shit to dads and stuff like that? It's just the real talk that dads need, and the harsh truth of reality that this is a war. And then I haven't heard anything since I exposed Randy for being a con artist. And then this guy had the audacity to say, if what you're doing really worked, millions of people would be following you. No, bitch. There's all kinds of stuff out there that works in life, but not everybody wants to do it because everybody's a lazy bum for the most part. People are soft and want to eat. We, with everything on our cell phones, Amazon delivery to the door, Uber delivery, you don't have to do anything and pick up anything. We're like that cartoon, I forget what it was, outer space cartoon where the guys are on a ship and they're just sitting in lounge chairs and it pushes them around. And they just have to push buttons. They don't have to get up and exercise and everybody's fat. There's solutions to people's health problems, health issues, obesity, mental health. People don't want to get up and do it because they're stuck in their stupor. And most dads are stuck in this catch-22 situation where they think if my lawyer won't fight, I need to fight. And so I'm going to stand down and be a pussy and not stand up because it's more easier and convenient. And you continue to suffer torment, not seeing your kids. Whereas if you suffered fighting the right way and putting effort into it, you are more likely to end up with peace at the end or a better deal. But you want it easy now, and that means you're going to suffer until your kids are 18. So, I'm going to have to get off here in a minute. So, how much for a second consult? Okay, I already answered that. $80 an hour, 30-minute increments. So 30 minutes, 40, hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes, like a guy who got ready for trial in a Midwest state. He had a couple appointments with me for 3 hours because trial is intense. And everybody who really wants to master this stuff really needs a good 5 hours with me. And then when you go to trial, you definitely need another 5 because trial is its own monster. It's like your custody battle is a monster. Then you go to trial and that's its own monster. And so each one of those is like 5 hours to really master and get on top of it. Can you help with suing city for losing my transcripts? I can help with anything that has to do with civil litigation and even criminal cases and stuff. But yeah, I actually helped the guy sue his lawyer for malpractice. This is one of the most impossible lawsuits. I worked with him and he wrote the complaint. His lawyer hired a giant law firm to defend his malpractice. And then that law firm set up a conference call to try and settle. They said, we'll give you spent $1,500. We'll give you $2,000 to just make you go. We feel bad. He did screw up, but you're not going to win. And they try to convince him you don't have a chance. And then we were like, I was sitting right there, but the dad was like, F you. Then they upped it to like 3,000 or maybe they doubled it to 4 and like, F you. And then we wrote a letter to the lawyers and also sent it to the attorney that screwed him. And they didn't like us talking to him directly. And then they offered $25,000 because they were scared to death. So he got like 18 times his money back. So, but I don't know that stuff. Some stuff I know off the top of my head, like in family law, but we'd have to do some research on that and make sure you get the right torts and the right elements, but that could be looked up. I can't do a consult right now. It's 12:30 in the AM and I got to get back to family. So it'd have to be tomorrow sometime. So just text me and let me know when you'd like to talk. I'm gonna have to jump off of here. I'm already later than I promised to be. So yeah, if you need a consult, just text me or call me and leave a message. The fastest way is to text me. I could see it right there. Sometimes I don't see the voicemails, or it goes right to voicemail, and then I don't see it till later. Or you could email me also. My phone number will be in the description below, or the link on my main video has my flow page. I'll put my number in the... Can I put my number in here? Can I not comment on here? It's not going to let me comment on here. So under description of every video, sometimes I miss putting the description. I mean, my phone number is right there, and then there's a link to my flow page. My phone number should be at the main cover picture of YouTube, I believe, but it's 206-553-9158. It's 206-553-9158, or just look for my stuff in the description. All right, you guys, those of you who are, going to war, keep up the good fight. Those of you who want to try and turn it around and want to get some help, feel free to reach out. Let's see. Excellent show. The passion and strength is here, and it needs to spread. I'll do everything I can to send friends your way. Always so much info. Thank you. Yep, spread the word if you can, or share it on different places. I know sometimes, actually, this lady in Australia who's a father's rights advocate, she was with the father's rights movement down there, and then she would post videos of mine. I guess she's been following me for 10 years, and we did a live on TikTok one time. She's been following me for 10 years, and then she would post some of my videos, and they said, that guy talked bad about us, so screw him. So they don't even want to hear from winners. It's crazy. Okay, I'm going to jump off here, guys. I'll talk to you next time.